everyone. We'll call this meeting to order. We're going to start the meeting with an invocation to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. Commissioner Stewart will lead us in invocation.
Please join me. Heavenly Father, again, we thank you for this opportunity to come and serve our county. Lord, I'm thankful, Father, that we're able to assemble like this in a great country that we call America. Lord, I just ask that you bless us here tonight. Bless us with wisdom and guidance. Lord, lead everything that we do that be done in your will. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to the approval of the agenda, I'd like to move awards and presentations to precede public hearings this evening. Any objections? Any other changes to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to change anything, but I'd just like to point out that item 15 on the consent relates to Wakulla County Floodplain Management Ordinance. That has nothing to do with the FEMA maps. I just want to make sure people knew that we weren't acting on that tonight. This is something totally different.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Mr. Chairman, I have one county attorney item. I need to request an attorney-client executive session.
Okay, make a note.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Oh, I have a couple. I wanted to make a brief announcement. I thought there were two items under consent that I wanted to pull. One is the Community Center Advisory Committee. And is there one under there related to Restore? Am I not seeing it?
On the general business.
Restore's under... there were two Restore items.
Yeah,
correct?
one is in public hearing. And one is
public
in
hearing. Okay, super. That's it.
All right, and I do have two announcements to be had this evening: the Cancer Society and Big Brothers Big Sisters. I heard a motion to pass. We have a motion. A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. We will start with our awards and presentations. Our first presentation this evening will be by the Wakulla County IFAS Extension Office.
This person here.
Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you for your time this evening. We would like to say how proud we are at the Wakulla IFAS Extension Office to be able to serve Wakulla County. A little bit about what we do, if I'm smart enough to make this advance, or maybe not. It's okay, I can't program a VCR either.
I don't even have VCRs anymore.
Gosh, I'm in worse trouble than I thought. Our mission is to extend the educational capacity of the University of Florida, the IFAS Extension Service, to Wakulla County in the areas of, among other things, well, it's getting better by the minute.
You got to point at.
Can you flip it forward, Katie?
There we go.
The middle one. Oh, okay, the other one. Okay. You set me up, Katie. Agriculture, consumer education, 4-H, youth and community programs, natural resources, energy, and the Sea Grant program. Here at this office, we have 3 full-time agents. Myself, who works in agriculture and natural resources, Shelley Swenson, who is here with us this evening in family and consumer sciences and the expanded food and nutrition program, and Sherry Kraft, who is in the 4-H program. The FCS, Family and Consumer Sciences program, FNEP program, some of the events or programs that they have conducted this past year are in adult-centered programs, youth-centered programs, and in marketing efforts. These, rather than read you these details, if you have any questions, I will be glad to answer them for you, or Shelley can answer these for you also. But these are programs that involve teaching citizens of Wakulla County. The 4-H program, 11 4-H clubs, 15 school enrichment programs. We have the Tropicana Public Speaking Program, and I can tell you, hopefully if you are enjoying my presentation here, I am a product of the 4-H Public Speaking Program. Also, day camps, the Jam for Camp, which funds scholarships for Wakulla County youth to go to 4-H camp. Agriculture and natural resources, we have the Small Farms Outreach Program. We taught a series of classes here for gardeners and market gardeners and people who are interested in producing their own fruits and vegetables. We have standalone specialty crop classes, including citrus, mushrooms, and some other crops. We have the demonstration garden, which has been funded through a grant program that I wrote. We have field consultations, educational displays, work with local advisory committees, and we also have a number of media outlets here. The local media has been very good to work with us, both in print and on air. By the numbers, having a background in business and economics, numbers is always an important feature. These are the numbers that we have reached here since the beginning of the year to the 1st of October. Now, we see some pretty large numbers down here, particularly in the web visits and media area. Now, the web visits are not just a hit on our site. These are web sessions where someone comes to our site, either individually or through a program that we sent out, releases that we sent out, and they visit a number of different pages on this. This is not just look at the picture and then go to somewhere else. These are people who are searching around. We have over 500,000 people who have done this at the Wakulla Extension site. The media contacts here, Sherry, myself, all produce local media stories. I'm very fortunate to work with both the local print media here. I have a regular column in the weekly, and also a regular column in the monthly. Shelley has a regular column in the monthly, and we all do news releases. There are some out-of-county numbers in this 624,000 number. However, we're writing about Wakulla County. And coming soon in the year upcoming here, we have Shelley's going to be doing a cooking series and focusing on the economics of that. We have Money Mentors coming up. We have a number of crop classes, Master Gardener program, and the demonstration garden expansion here. And Shelley will be working with new 4-H clubs. And we want you to know how proud we are to be here in Wakulla County and serve the educational needs of Wakulla County citizens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
We're very happy you all are here, top-notch folks.
Well, thank you.
Do great things for our county. I'm going to comment on one thing, though.
Please.
With the web visits, I don't
Yes.
think you can say you have more than 500,000 people who are shopping around. You could have one person who's gone to your website.
Well, we could have one person that went 500,000 times. However, what this indicates is we have repeat visits. This is not just one person making a hit or a group of people making a hit. We have here Wakulla County with the 32,000 plus citizens are utilizing this resource. In the upcoming year, part of what I'm doing is we get a lot of questions on bugs here in Wakulla County. People want to know what kind of bug it is. We are developing a Big Bend bugs page. We're also doing Wakulla weeds. We're doing a cattleman's advisory for Wakulla cattlemen. These count as visits to the site, and these are repeat visits. We do not have the technology to tell you that somebody who lives on Deerfield Lane visits us 650 times during the year. We don't have that technology.
I was just teasing.
That's okay.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Up next this evening is a presentation by the Wakulla County Health Department, Mr. Pat Juarez.
Good evening. Thank you very much for allowing us to come up and give you a little overview of what we're doing over at the Health Department over the past year and what we're doing this next year. When I asked Mr. Edwards for this, he said keep it to 5 minutes, so I promise you, you'll be done in 5 minutes. That's assuming that I can figure out how to work the controller.
Well, I have a class.
Woohoo! Hey, there we go. We're there. First, I want to point out to your leadership team, in case you don't know who we all are. I know a lot of us are invisible to you. On the far left there is our dental director. That's Dr. Mice. He does all that. Keith Lawhon, you might remember from some of your meetings. He's our environmental health director. That's me with my tie crooked. Behind me on the other side is Lori Lawhon. She's our supervisor of our school health aides. In front of her is Charlotte Sorrell, our business manager. And then Sherry Bramlin is our director of nursing. And the person you don't see is actually behind me is Tanya Hobby, and she's the one taking the picture. So she should be in that little slot right over there, but we didn't have something to take, so she's missing there. If you would, most of you, and for those of you in the audience that don't have it, there's some sitting outside. There's a little booklet there in front of you. And inside of it, you're going to see a thing that says Community Health Profile. And first off, for people in the audience, I want to point out that these were all printed for free for us. I talked somebody into doing it, so we did not spend money on these. These were paid for us. But this is a great review of the level of the health in our county. And the reason I point that out again, because within 6 pages or 5 pages, you can see what's going on in our county. The reason I had this slide put up was specifically was I wanted to show you kind of where we're dying, why are we dying in this county. This is for 2006 to 2010. I had a comparison done between us and the surrounding counties. As you can see, the vast majority of people are dying from cancers and heart disease. You can pretty much add everything else up, and it's not going to come close to touching those. So that is where our issues lie in our county. Those are chronic health diseases that we need to address, and we're going to continue to address for quite some time. But again, you can see kind of comparison between us and Franklin and Gulf Jefferson, just our kind of surrounding counties. I promise you I'm not going to read all my slides. In fact, the slides, if you will pull also out of your little packet, you'll see a thing that says Services of Wakulla County Health Department. It gives a lot further detail about each one of the services we provide. And I have these available for anybody in the audience who would like one. But I do want to highlight a couple of these. Out of this slide up here, I'd like to point out 2 different things. The first one is immunizations. We scored 100% this year on our immunizations for children under the age of 2. Got us a statewide award. That's pretty impressive, I got to be honest with you. It's very difficult to do. Our staff are diligent. They hound you to get your children immunized. I also want to point out that if it's flu season, please get your flu shot. You do not have to come to us. This is not an ad for coming to us, but if you do choose to come to us on Wednesdays, we let children get immunizations for free. If you happen to be Capital Health Plan, we just signed a deal with them that if you come to us, we can give you the flu shot and you don't have to pay copay. So other than that, we do charge a fee for giving that, but you can go anywhere you want. Go to Winn-Dixie, go to CVS, get your flu shot. Make sure you get that done. Next on there is family planning. A lot of people don't realize we offer family planning to anybody in the county, anybody that comes through. It's not based on income. We'll charge you based on your income, but if you don't have income, we're going to help you do planning. We're going to provide you with provisions. We do all that. We do all these things. Moving on in our clinical services. 2 things I want to point out here. One of our most commonly requested, somebody walking in the door, is birth certificates. You can see that we charge a $13 fee. It's about a 24-hour turnaround. You come in today, fill out the form, give us $13. We take a picture of your ID. We'll have your birth certificate for you the next day. The only reason I point that out, because we got a camera on, is a lot of people show up and they're like, well, I want it right now. Sorry, it takes us about 24 hours. But I'm just putting that out so people don't get upset and they can get the service they want. School health aides is the thing I really wanted to point out on this. We have a real advantage in our county that we have school health aides at each and every one of our public schools. Not all counties can say that. That is something that is unique to our county, and it's great. When I spoke with our school health aides and I said, what would you like me to tell the Board of County Commission so they understand about your programs, they said a couple things they wanted to point out. First off is the complexity of the cases they work on now. This isn't like when I was in school and it was a Band-Aid and wipe a nose. They're dealing with chronic diseases now. They're dealing with everything from diabetes, catheterization, quadriplegics, paraplegics, ADHD, ADD, epilepsy, asthma, and all the medications that go along with that. And to make a point here, I hate using all kinds of statistics, but I think it should help you realize, just in our schools here, last year there was 31,000 visits to our school health aides. Out of those, 10,000 of those were just for medications. That's how much is given out these days. We don't prescribe these medications. We're not
but we were making sure that the students are getting the correct medications and that they're following their prescriptions all along. So, moving along. Dental services. In case you didn't know, we have a dental service. You saw the dental director there a few minutes ago. We specialize in children that are on Medicaid from under the age of 20. In our area, I believe we are the only ones that will see Medicaid children under the age of 5. We see a lot of children over there. However, we have dental services for anybody in our county. It's on a fee-based service. We're not trying to take any services away from any of the other dentists in the area, but that is available for people that maybe don't have insurance and are looking for another solution to that. Moving on to community health. We have our Healthy Start program. A lot of people don't realize that is available to anybody that's having a child in our community. We have that available to them. Of course, our WIC office is there. They're there every Wednesday. Anybody that needs any help from WIC, please come by on that day. We're glad to help you out. Moving on, tobacco prevention. As you can see, we have the classes, the free patches. I think you have something on your consent agenda today about tobacco prevention. If it was not for this program, we would not have a SWAT program in this county. So this is something that provides. Our health education promotion, I think, has touched almost everybody in this county these days. We're offering CPR classes. We're doing our nutrition classes. She's done an excellent job. This is Miss Grace Keith, who is working with our health ministries throughout the county, doing a great job working with all of them. Environmental health. You might remember me standing up here over the years with my environmental health hat on. Yep, we do safety and sanitation inspections, epidemiological investigations. That's for like water and foodborne illness, that kind of thing. But the program you all have had me up here many times for, mosquito control, just to do my little ad, is we will come out to your house and spray twice per year. We'll come out and we'll larvicide anytime. And don't forget that number, 926-0410. All you have to do is leave your name and address, and we will come out. We believe you. We will spray your place. Moving on, about money. As Les pointed out, it's about money, and I'm sorry for anybody in the audience because those numbers are mighty small. So I'm going to tell you what a couple of the big ones are. This is where we get our money from. The pie shape here. The big one on the right, which is, it says general revenue, and even I can't read it. I think it says 28. Good. It says 28%. If you're not working in the state government, general revenue means tax dollars. That's where we get 28% of our revenue from. 24% comes from Medicaid. Every time we see one of those children that's on Medicaid, we get a certain dollar amount. That's where we get it from. For the ladies and gentlemen here, the Board of County Commission gives us 5% of our revenue. That's where we get that. The rest of it comes from state grants, federal grants, and vital statistics you see down there. That's those birth and death certificates gives us about 1% of our budget. Here is our budget incredibly summarized. This is taking a spreadsheet that is the size of this room and boiling it down. As you can see, though, this is the top half is our revenue, the bottom half is our expenditures. Our budget is about $1.6 million. The vast majority of our money is spent on salaries and benefits. Other personal service, if you don't work in state government, is people that are part-time or they're not career service. They're not people that are getting benefits. So if you add those two numbers up, you go, wow, that is your budget. That's really where we're spending all of our money is on people. As a comparison, just wanted to give you this one. This is our budget over the past couple of years. You can see back in 2007, 2008, our budget was about $2.4 million, and now we're down to 1.6. It's about a $750,000 cut. That's where we are these days. Along with that cut, we've gone from 53 people down to 23 people. So that gives you a feel for that. But that's our budget over the years. Moving on. See, I'm down to your last two, and I'm keeping it in your 5 minutes, folks. Projects, things we're working on. We have, at a request from the county, we have completely revised our website. We're continuing to work on our website. One of the things we're doing is for mosquito control, we're making it interactive to where someone can make a request or request not to be sprayed, and that they'll be able to check on it to determine if their house has been sprayed. A common request, complaint, or concern is people is like, I'm not sure if I've been sprayed or not. They'll be able to go onto the website and be able to see if their house has been sprayed yet or not from their request. We're in the testing phases of that, and that will be done before the beginning of next season. We're right at the tail end of mosquito control right now for the year. The temperature's getting to the point here pretty quick where legally we will not be able to spray anymore. That doesn't mean mosquitoes aren't here, but we just legally won't be able to spray any longer. We can still put out larvicide, but we won't be able to do that. I do want to point out this will be coming out probably in a press release in the next day or two. We have had an illness that we believe is related to mosquito control, so there is still a concern. Please cover up, wear DEET, keep those children covered up, those type of things. Next thing is, of course, our CPR and first aid classes. We offer those all over the county. They're very popular, and they work. We have saved lives, and we can show that we've saved lives. Take a CPR class. They're cheap. Cheap. Grant applications. We have a grant that we're waiting to hear the results of. It's a very large grant. It's for about a 5-county area. We won't get any of the money at the health department, but it's going to be passed through to many of the great organizations. You hear on these announcements coming through, we'll be passing through the money to them. So it's good news for them if we get through. We're also in the process of applying for an abstinence grant. That's part of the equation of family planning. We'll see how that goes, and if we can get some of that money, that's great, because then we can provide some more education in that aspect. Last two things I want to talk about on this is recruitment. We have an open position. How all that talk about money, but we do have an open position. If you happen to be a registered nurse out there, wherever the camera is, if you happen to be a registered nurse and you want to work at the health department, we want to hear from you. It's a great place to work. Last thing on our project, it is Diabetes Awareness Month. In case you didn't know that, we're doing some cool stuff at the schools. They're going to do some doors. They're going to do some projects on everybody in this room and everybody at home. You know somebody with diabetes. It is that prevalent. We need to make people aware of it, and we need to make people aware how to prevent it. So I believe November 12th is the big day for this, but it is a month-long awareness program. So my last one. Our website has many different names. You can type a bunch of different things, but I thought this was a simple one, which is MyWCHD, which stands for Wakulla County Health Department. You can also type in Wakulla County Health DEPT.com and get there, but my Wakulla County Health Department is there. If you want to make an appointment, or if you want to talk with me, if you want to talk with Charlotte, the business manager, you can just call that number at the top, the 0400. If you want to make a dental appointment, there's a phone number there. Our community health, if that includes environmental health, you can give that number there a ring. We can get to you any way you want. In case you don't know where we are, because I know some of you have never been to the health department, we're right up the road at 48 Oak Street. It's right by the sheriff's office, or right next to the Senior Citizen Center. If any of the politicians in the area would ever like to get a tour of the place, we'd love to give it to you. Just give us a ring and come on by. And done in 5.
Thank you, sir.
Good presentation.
Any questions?
I just want to make a comment.
Yes, sir.
Over the years I've been here, this past year especially, I want to thank your organization for the hard work you've done, especially you, and I attribute that to your leadership. I think you guys have done more with less this year than you've ever done in any previous years, and I thank you, because all the calls we had after the big storm and mosquito control, we were covered up with them, with calls and mosquitoes. But I thank you for that, and the hard work all your staff has done. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and I'll let them know that. Thank you all.
Thank you. Our next announcement this evening is Big Brothers and Big Sisters, Mr. Luis Garcia. And we have a flyer from him already. 2 purple ones. Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, community members. I'm the CEO for Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Big Bend. We have been in the Big Bend for over 41 years. But about 3 years ago, I came to the county commission meeting to say we're going to be intentional and put Wakulla County as a priority outreach area and open a satellite office. And in these 3 years, we have hired now 2 people dedicated to just Wakulla County, and it wouldn't have happened without the support of the county leadership and the community leadership and businesses and everyone here. So I want to start off by saying thank you for helping us start something big in Wakulla County. And Big Brothers Big Sisters, a lot of people have heard of the brand name, and usually if I say who's heard of it, everyone raises their hand, but nobody raises their hand when I say, do you know what we do or achieve? And what we do is we find caring adult mentors for any child who wants or needs one. And as it turns out, most of the children that come to us through their family referrals and school referrals are youth who are in poverty or in single parent or single guardian homes, or a quarter of all the children that we serve and on our waiting list have an incarcerated parent as well. And so these moms, usually moms and grandmas, are coming to us to find some help with just having a role model, someone to be there to probably say the same things the parent is saying to the kid, but they listen to someone else more than they listen to their own parents. So we're proud to have done that. Over the past 3 years, we've had a Wakulla County Fish Fry, and I'm happy to say that a couple of weeks ago we had our 3rd annual, and over these past 3 years we've raised over $20,000, and it's specifically for the Wakulla County program, and that's allowed us to not just hire one person, Stacy Harvey, who does our program and case management, but a few weeks ago we hired a second person, Ellen Scanlon, and her job is just to recruit because our need now is to recruit volunteers to be mentors, and it just takes 4 hours a month to do that, and then you can do fun things with the child and hang out, go fishing, play video games, get some pizza, escape your own home for a little bit, and spend time with a kid who can really appreciate and use an extra voice. And we couldn't have done this without help from a lot of community members. Several are in this room. This past few months, we've even started a Wakulla County Advisory Board. Jennifer Jensen and other folks, Wakulla News, a teacher, Commissioner Brock, and other people who stepped up and now are advising me and my team on how to succeed. One of the recommendations, so thank you, Commissioner Brock, for being a champion the past 3 years and bringing a service to youth in Wakulla County and helping us introduce us to the right people and being a voice for not us but for other organizations, so thank you. One of the suggestions from the Wakulla County Advisory Group was to bring one of our clothing donation bins into town. It's a way that I've set up to raise more money. And we just take old clothes, old shoes, old household items, and I sell it in bulk. And I've done this in another organization. I've made a lot of money. We're starting to make money out of our Big Bend office. And I would like, it's a way to promote the organization, and the flyer you have has a picture of one of the bins. We keep it clean, we keep it empty and organized, and it is a way to bring more dollars dedicated to the Wakulla County program. And the suggestion from the advisory board was to see if we can have this bin at Azalea Park somehow on county land. So I would be delighted to begin discussions on how we can make that happen, and other organizations and businesses that love to be a free and easy way to support Big Brothers Big Sisters. And for anyone else who wants to know about it, I will leave some of our annual reports outside in the table and a flyer for the bins. And in the annual report, there is a highlight of our Wakulla County program being launched, and how saying what it's a priority for me to get this going, because the community has stood up to say this is a priority for us, and we welcome you and hope to be successful. Thank you for your time, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Questions? All right, thank you, sir. Next announcement presentation this evening is the Cancer Society, Ms. Edie Bryant.
Thank y'all for allowing me to be here. It was very short notice, so I don't know how well prepared I am, but is that better? Okay. I hope that after 10 years of doing Relay, this is our 10th year. Everybody in this room knows what Relay for Life is. Please shake your head yes. Okay. This is our 10th year. We're just now kind of cranking up for our Relay event that will be held on Saturday, April 27th, and go into Sunday morning, and we'll end at 8 o'clock that morning. In the past, we have done it on starting at 6 o'clock on a Friday evening and go until Saturday morning, so we're kind of switching it up this year in hopes that we can get more people to stay through the night. That's always where we have the problem. We want to continue doing this in the county. The last few years, it's kind of been a low turnout. We realize that the economy, the worldwide economy, has had a lot to do with that, but we're trying to get it back to where we used to be with it. For those of you that don't know much about Relay, which I hope everyone does, it consists of teams. You can have a team from a church, a business, a civic group, a subdivision, your neighborhood, civic organizations. Anybody can form teams. Teams can come from anywhere. Most teams have at least 10 to 15 people on them. You can have more than that. Each team is asked to register by paying $100 and then raise at least $1,000. Sometimes that doesn't happen. That doesn't mean we're going to kick you out when Relay gets here and say, no, you didn't raise $1,000, your team can't walk. We don't do that. We also need sponsorship. Sponsorship will take any amount. Signage starts at $100, and if you've ever been to a relay event, you see what we call track markers that go around the track with a business name or a person's name or whatever on it. They have paid $100, and that gets them the signage track marker, and it goes up in amounts from 100. There's silver, there's gold, there's platinum, sponsorships at different amounts, and I don't have those right in front of me, so I'm not going to try to remember them. So it's a fun event. If you've ever been out there, it's fun. Yes, you get tired, but how relay started. It started a doctor in the Pacific Northwest. I think he was from Seattle. Got so sick and tired of seeing so many of his patients getting diagnosed with cancer, and he was a runner, and he decided one day that he was going to run a certain number of miles in a certain amount of time to raise money for cancer, and that was in 1984, and that's how Relay for Life got started. Now it is the biggest fundraiser in the nation that the Cancer Society does. So it's a great cause. We raise a lot of money. The very first year that we did Relay in 02, our goal was $35,000, and that year we raised $53,000. So we can do it. The county can do it if we can get just a lot of more people to participate. People, I know businesses get hit up a lot for things, and clubs get asked to do things, and you think you're overloaded, but everybody in this room knows somebody that has been a cancer patient or has died because of cancer. And I'm getting emotional because I've had a lot. I'm a breast cancer survivor, so when you think you can't do it, when you think I'm too busy, I don't have the time, I don't know enough people, think about those that aren't with you anymore, or those that are, because of the people that did get out and walk all night, and the teams that did raise the money to do their research and those sorts of things to make it possible, and just let us have a world with more birthdays in the future, and continue the cancer research, and just continue having a great time at Relay every year. So I made a comment one time that it was like our springtime, our Christmas in the springtime, because we just had so much fun. So I will our next team captain meeting, if you decide that you want to form a team, if you're in any of those places I mentioned, a church, a neighborhood, a civic group, all of the county elected officials would make a great team. So I've been working on that. And you want more information, our next meeting is this Thursday night, which is the 8th at Crawfordville United Methodist Church. You walk out the door and look across the street, and you're looking straight at it in the fellowship hall. We start that off with a team captain meeting. Is that right, Alan? Let me see. I'm sorry. We have I'm sorry. It's this Thursday, the 8th at 7:30 across in the church across the street. So y'all please come. Please talk to your friends, talk to your family. You got a big family, you can do a family team. But just be there, just help towards the cause, and let's keep it going in the county. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Last announcement, Commissioner Arns.
Yeah, I want to make two quick ones. First, I wanted to thank everybody who was involved with the Empty Bowls this past Saturday. Haiti Jackley, Gail Campbell, and many other people worked really hard to put on a fabulous event. I think someone said they raised over $8,000. So that will provide food for our food pantries. They also had a delivery from Farm Share that helped to provide food for food pantries. So it was a wonderful event. Everybody who helped organize it made soup, bought tickets, painted bowls, whatever you did, thank you for that. And it's my understanding this will become an annual event. And then the other thing I wanted to say, I had invited Buddy Wells, our supervisor of elections, to come tonight, but he saw the long list of public hearings and declined. So I'm going to make the announcement for him in case anybody's just getting out of a coma. Tomorrow is election day. So please, if you have not already voted, go vote. It may be raining, doesn't matter, go vote.
Excellent. And on that note, someone did raise a concern with me earlier today about the road closure sign you see on 319 for some work that's supposed to be done tomorrow. That work has been postponed. There will be no road lane closures tomorrow. So everyone should be able, as long as you're in the polls by 7, in line by 7, you'll have the opportunity to vote tomorrow. All right, excellent. All right, then that concludes our announcements and presentations, awards and presentations, and we're going to start our public hearings. Our first public hearing this evening is request board approval to conduct public hearing and approve the fiscal year 2012-13 PHA 5-year and annual plan. Mr. McDaniels?
Thank you, Chairman Brock, fellow commissioners. This action comes before the board to approve the plan and authorize submission of the PHA plan, the annual PHA plan to HUD. This is a requirement of 24 CFR Part 903. And since Wakulla County was in a troubled status, they were required to submit it every year. So you have the annual plan as well as the PHA plan.
I'll make a motion to approve, to conduct the public hearing, and approve the PHA 5-year and annual plan.
Second.
And as I understand it, we are no longer in troubled status. Is that a correct statement?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. We have a motion. We have a motion and a second. Are there any citizens? No citizens? All in favor?
I have a couple of questions.
Commissioner Arts?
Yeah, first, congratulations, and thank you for doing an excellent job to get us out of the troubled status. There are a couple things I wanted to ask you about. You say you're putting more of an emphasis on families that are working.
Working preference, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I appreciate that part of the incentive is to encourage people to work. Is this going to have any negative impacts on some of our lowest income people who just cannot work or cannot find a job?
No, we have a preference, but that does not exclude us from considering other target markets. So it's all inclusive. There's just a priority based on veterans, families, and a working preference. But it does not exclude, and I hear what you're saying, it does not exclude us from considering others.
Okay. And then could you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing to make sure that our rents are reasonable? I know.
We just received a study maybe about 2 weeks ago. We did contract with Melrod to conduct a rent study, and what it allows us to do, they've assessed the market here in Wakulla County, and they have a great history of doing so, and they provided us with an online tool to where when we're getting a lease from a landlord with a rent, we can put in some general information about the property, it pulls some comparables, and it tells us whether or not the rent in that area is reasonable.
Okay. We want to make sure the money goes as far as it can.
Absolutely.
I was going to add that we previously made some efforts to try to lower the subsidies so we could help more people with the same amount of money.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Also take this opportunity, if you'd like to speak on any of our public hearings this evening or any agenda item coming up, make sure you fill out a card in advance. You can get the card at the table here, and just make sure you hand it to Katie. Katie, wave. And we'll make sure to provide you the opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes. Up next this evening, item 2 has been tabled, so item 3, request board approval to conduct a public hearing and adopt a proposed ordinance establishing the Wakulla County Restore Act Committee. County Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an item you have previously considered when you scheduled it for public hearing. We are seeking board approval to establish a local Restore Act Advisory Committee for the purpose of vetting and ranking and prioritizing potential projects to be funded by the county's expected monies from the Restore Act. We still do not know how much that will be, but we want to be ready to go. This will establish a 13-member committee made up of various representations around the county. Later on this agenda, under general business, you will be asked to appoint actual committee members by resolution. There are, I'd like to note, a couple blanks in here that need to be filled in. You look at the ordinance in Section 3, we are requiring a certain number of public meetings for this committee to hold to seek input on projects and project submissions. There is a blank there. We are currently recommending that they hold no less than 5, but that is something that this board can determine. And then there is a blank for the date when a ranked project and activity list has to be submitted back to the county, and we are currently recommending that that be March 1, 2013. Now, first meeting in March. Just so you know, that may change. We're still waiting on Treasury to promulgate their rules, and so that could affect that, but if so, we'll bring it back to you. But those, we're recommending that you adopt this ordinance at no less than 5 advertised public meetings and a March 1.
I make a motion to approve, conduct a public hearing, and adopt the proposed ordinance establishing the Wakulla County Restore Act Advisory Committee with no less than 5 meetings and a deadline of 3/1/13. Is that what you're looking for? That's the middle date?
That's
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, 3/5/13.
3/5/13.
So if we get it here, though, I can get it.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second for discussion. I want to make sure what we're doing.
We have one citizen who's filed a card. Mr. Trice? John Trice? 3 minutes.
Thank you. I've been keeping up with this restore money that y'all talking about getting it a long way down the road. But nowhere have I seen that y'all talking about helping the fishermen or the bays and stuff, actually out in the bays. Well, this restore money is actually coming from the Deepwater Horizon. So what are y'all going to do for those folks? Are y'all going to try to plant any seafood or oyster bars or do anything to the bays, or y'all just going to throw it around the edges of the waters and let the people on shore have all the money? Because according to what I've seen in the papers and on TV and all, y'all plan to do nothing for the bays and all that the money's actually coming for. That's what the fishermen need helping, and the oystermen and stuff around here. Look at Apalachicola Bay. Are y'all keeping up with that? They dying over there. The government's pitching in right now in the state to help them folks. And if we get this money, y'all need to start planning ahead of time to help these folks. Don't wait till the last minute to think about helping them. They're going to need help now. Y'all need to start thinking about these folks. We got a lot of them right here in this county that y'all never thought about, that has drove to East Point for years and years and made a living in Apalachicola Bay. And now we're going to have them here. It's just like in Panacea. The bridge you drive across in Panacea is a purifier. You can oyster all you want to below it, but you can't go above it. That's stupid. Our county commissioners needs to check on that. When did the bridge come of a purifier? You know, things like that we need to check on with this money y'all gonna get. Not just use it all to build marinas and stuff like that. And I've kept up on it in the paper. I quit coming down here for a long time harassing you guys. But, I see all this stuff y'all gonna do with it, and I watch y'all every 2 weeks on TV. And I've seen nothing about helping the fishermen. Thank you.
John, I'd encourage you to read the infrastructure plan we adopted. It's got several projects that directly benefit fishermen. When you get a chance, I'm sure they'd be happy to provide you a copy.
And I went to, contrary to what you're saying, I went and attended a meeting over in Apalachicola with Congressman Sutherland and all his staff, and all the people from Apalachicola were there, and we talked at length about the oyster problems over there and how he's helping them, how we're going to all get together and work together to work with the oystermen. So what you're saying is not true, because what we've been doing is working very hard to try to help the oystermen and the fishermen.
If you went over there, though, it's not printed in the paper or anything over here, because they catch them too bad.
I can't help what they print here.
I know.
I have nothing to say about it. I'm just telling you, we're working to help the fishermen. The restore money don't just go to
Mr. Charles.
inland jobs.
Okay.
Your time's up.
I'm just saying that we need something showing up.
Thank
in
you.
the paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
And I will echo, Congressman Sutherland has spent a great deal of energy working to make sure that the fishermen are included in the settlement. It's for economic and environmental restoration, and a large part of the economic restoration is trying to make sure the fishermen and oystermen can get put back to work, oystering and fishing, and also trying to help make sure they learn other skills so they have other opportunities. Commissioner Stewart, you said you had some...
Well, I just want to make sure, I'll ask the attorney, if approving this tonight, are we approving those members as well? That's on this?
No,
Okay,
that is
we're gonna
under
do that
general
later.
business.
Okay, I just want to make sure the public understands that we're moving forward with it. Okay, that's all I had.
Any further discussion, Commissioner Arntz?
I have two main things. One is kind of minor, though, but I wanted to ask if you all remember my raising this issue last time. When we described the representation, I had asked that instead of referring to natural resources industry, that we take the industry off. Do any of you recall that? Okay, because I thought we agreed on it, and it's still in the ordinance. And part of the reason is that's an unusual phrase, and I think when I hear things like natural resources industries, it brings to mind more of the exploitive extraction kind of things like oil drilling and gas
I'd be willing to
drilling
take it
and-
out on my motion. I mean, I think it's semantics, but if you want to go ahead and do your next
I
one.
think people who specialize in conservation and restoration would not see themselves as part of an industry.
I'd be willing to take it out of my motion.
I would appreciate it.
Fine.
Okay. And then the other thing is, I tried to make this point before, but I don't know that I made it as clearly as I'm going to try to now. And when I read through, according to what the Restore Act is supposed to be used for and the eligible activities for which funds can be used, it includes restoration and protection of the natural resources, ecosystems, fisheries, marine and wildlife habitats, beaches, and coastal wetlands. Mitigation of damage to fish, wildlife, and natural resources. Implementation of a federally approved marine, coastal, or comprehensive conservation management plan, including fisheries monitoring. And I'm going to skip here a couple. Infrastructure projects benefiting the economy or ecologic resources, including port infrastructure, coastal flood protection and related infrastructure, improvement to or on state parks located in coastal areas affected by the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. And that to me is the heart of this. There are a few other things in there. Workforce development and job creation, promotion of tourism, promotion of consumption of seafood. And so if I think about that and I look at our membership, the 13 positions we've identified, to me it doesn't seem a good fit. And I think we're making the same mistakes that we made with the Community Center Advisory Committee and with Wakulla 2020, where we tried to have a really big, broad-based committee with lots of diverse interests represented. And I guess the more I've thought about this, it seems to me that most of these entities we're talking about should really be bringing forward, or many of them should be bringing forward proposals. But that the committee that's supposed to be deciding which activities should be top ranked to use the money is more, in my mind, should be more of a technical review committee. I would really like to see people with the expertise to evaluate how effective these proposals are going to be in terms of restoration and all of the environmental kind of aspects that are supposed to be the focus. And maybe one expert on of the effectiveness of economic development proposals. And I'll just give you an anecdote that kind of drove this home to me. And back when we were doing the oyster relays, I was very enthusiastic, and I even complimented Ronald Fred Crum for his initiative in getting a grant to do that. But I was since told by someone who's a lot more expert than I am that oyster relays have never really been evaluated for effectiveness, and this is just what I was told. I haven't researched it, but they've never really been evaluated for effectiveness, or to like what the survival rates are of the oysters that you move, and whether what are the best times and ways to do it, if, to increase survival. And his concern was that we may actually do more harm than good. If you're taking healthy oysters and moving them to a place where they die, you're going to have a deterioration in water quality, not an improvement. So what that says to me is, I don't know enough to evaluate these from a technical perspective. And when I look at the people that we're putting on this committee, that's my kind of view of the majority. And I know we aren't appointing names now, but I guess I'm questioning that we're doing the same thing we did with Wakulla 2020 and the community center, and that maybe this should be a much smaller, really highly knowledgeable people about the specific things that they have to, so they can decide, this is going to be more effective than this. This one could even be harmful. And so that's...
And over half these people have direct relationships to the water or the environmental fields, and I'm hoping that the people we pick have that knowledge so they can actually implement that. I mean,
Also, we're going to be going through a world of permitting and working with the Department of Agriculture and DEP on all these things, so therefore there's going to be checks and balances all up and down the line.
And this is an advisory
And it's
committee,
an advisory
correct?
committee, that's right.
It's not like the 2020 committee where they actually controlled something. This is an advisory committee. I appreciate your point, though. I understand. And I think it's going to be kind of on us, the onus is on us to do the research you're talking about, because who knows what's going to be proposed.
right.
I know, I can form my opinion on whether something meets the spirit of the grant or not. And it's really ultimately our decision.
Commissioner Moore?
I have a question. Are we voting on these numbers tonight? I thought Heather said we were
Not
not.
right now, under general business, yes.
But later.
Yes, later.
Okay. I could answer Ms. Art's statement there with a lot of stuff, but I'll pass on that.
And I just want to point out one thing, and just to add to the mix, as you guys are debating the makeup of your committee, the Restore Act specifically requires us to submit a plan, and that plan contains ranked projects, and they have to be selected based on meaningful input from the public, including broad-based participation from individuals, businesses, and nonprofit organizations.
I would like to say, though, that I just can't sit here and let Ms. Arts go on about that other, so, I'm so sorry. But anyway, these committees are people who have a direct interest in the projects that they're going to be working on. If you take just the Shell Point, the Shell Point community has certain items out there that they're particularly interested in accomplishing, and they know what they are. They will be put in the mix. Mr. Fred Crum and Danny Metcalf they're in the fishery business, and they understand, they have spent their lifetime on the water, and Mr. Crum has spent almost his lifetime trying to help the fishermen and so forth. And
Right now, we aren't talking about any individuals right now.
no, that's all right. I know you're not talking
We're
about.
talking about
I don't wanna-
categories.
I would not want to turn this over to basically a scientific organization to decide what is best for Wakulla County, or to go through studies and that sort of thing. I think we can accomplish what we want to do. We may not be the best, but we will have the input of the people who are most affected by this.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Passes 4-1. Item 1 of the this evening, request board approval to conduct public hearing and adopt the proposed ordinance amending sections 2.065 of the county code regarding non-interference. County Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This section, as back in, I think it was October 1, you all originally looked at the wording of the proposed amendment. This is not intended to change the scope of the non-interference policy, which is adopted both in your charter and in the current code provision, but is merely intended to provide additional guidance on how commissioners are and are not allowed to interact with staff that are under the direct or indirect supervision of the county administrator.
Make a motion to approve, conduct a public hearing, and adopt the proposed ordinance amending section 2.065 of the county code regarding commissioner non-interference.
Motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Item number 5 this evening, request board approval to conduct a public hearing and adopt the proposed ordinance revising the county noise ordinance. County Attorney Encinosa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're requesting a few minor revisions to the noise ordinance. After the board adopted the noise ordinance, I guess, first meeting in September, the sheriff's office got their equipment. They knew that they could make that investment and conducted certain field tests, and based upon those, there are a few tweaks that they recommended. The first is that we are recommending that we adjust the decibel limits up by 10 decibels to make sure that background noise doesn't unreasonably affect the results. They are recommending that the time period for measuring for violations remain at 10 minutes, but a violation will only exist now if they exceed the decibel limitations for 50% of that interval rather than 10% as in the original ordinance. They want to make certain changes to the calibration of the sound meters. They are going to be now calibrated at the beginning of the shift. They've done some tests and determined that it will hold a calibration for a longer period of time than we originally thought. And then some other minor tweaks to the noise ordinance in order to improve effectiveness and enforcement.
Motion to approve to conduct a public hearing and adopt the proposed ordinance revising the county noise ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have one citizen who's filed a card. Mr. Fred. I can't pronounce your last name, sir. I apologize. I don't want to mess it up.
David, has the sheriff's department relayed any problems they've had with this? I mean, does this resolve whatever problems?
Resolve most of the problems they've had.
Okay.
My name is Fred Matuszak, and I live at 56 Moody Lane. And the 5-minute, I think you said it was 10 minutes, Ms. Heather?
The noise, if they get a noise,
The
they're
length
going to
of-
come out and put on the noise meter for 10 minutes. If the noise exceeds the decibel limits for 50% of that time, then a violation exists.
50% meaning 5 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, well, in my experience with this, and as of today, living next to a problem, what happens is they turn this boombox on for 2-3 minutes, which the 5 minutes won't even basically touch that. And, you know, the 10 o'clock ordinance kicks in, you know, after 10 p.m. for, you know, the nighttime noise, but the daytime noise, they can do that all day long for 5 or 10 minutes to harass a person for complaining about them making noise with that boombox. And that seems to be the biggest problem that I can see, because I'm still living it, and I'm working with the sheriff's department right now to try to get resolve at my house. So as far as that 50% or 5 minutes, I don't believe that's going to work. What we need to do, there should be, you know, for that, maybe, you know, adopting something Leon County done over there on their noise ordinance. Theirs looks pretty good. I've read that. Or, you know, make it I don't know, maybe for those boom boxes, you know, if they get a meter reading on it, they should, you know, give them a warning maybe the first time, and they get another meter reading on it, so it don't cause a harassment problem. Because if you complain, this is where I'm at. It's been approximately a year and a half with this mess, and I had the sheriff over there today, and they've been working with me diligently to try to get this resolved. So we need to do something else other than the 50% or 5 minutes. That's just not going to work, especially if somebody complains about it and, you know, these people want to go ahead and harass you. It don't work.
That was based upon a recommendation from the sheriff department.
Okay, I know,
It's up to
I'm
the
not
board
blaming you,
to
don't get me
help.
wrong, I know you just, I understand your help writing it or the recommendation, but they are trying to help me out on the other side.
Yeah, I did forward your suggestion to the sheriff's office. Is there anybody from the sheriff's office here who's been working on that wants to talk about it? No.
I think unfortunately, we can't design, I sympathize with your situation, but I don't think we can design a county ordinance around one situation, because there could be tons of unintended consequences.
Yeah, well, we're talking about something that has no, it's not like a jackhammer or, like they're building a building or, we're coming down to a point of, this harassment's been going on for a long time for me personally at my house. So if you live there, I promise you, you would not want to live in this county.
Thank you, sir. That was your time. I think what you're going to find is happening is that the sheriff's department has put together this ordinance, and if it continues to be a problem, they'll probably bring back this is an amendment of our original ordinance to try and make it easier for them to implement. So if it continues to be a problem, we'll probably implement whatever suggestions they bring back. Thank you.
I would like you to maybe consider doing what Leon County did. They seem to have it wrapped up pretty tight as far as the ordinance goes.
Thank you, sir.
Unfortunately, we have inconsiderate people in our neighborhoods who don't care about their neighbors, and we can't, you can't just, I understand your point, and I certainly understand what you're going through. I've gone through it myself, but as soon as the deputy rides up, they turn the radio down. What are you supposed to do? You can't, and it's just, this gives them some teeth to try to enforce it. We'll keep working on it.
Well, that's the idea behind.
Please, let's not talk out from the crowd.
And that's what we're doing.
I think the saying, Mike, is you can't legislate civility.
Right.
I think that's been.
I think also the gentleman mentioned that Leon County has one that fits his situation. There's no reason we can't look at their ordinance and work in that direction, because if they have one that works, maybe that's one that we can follow.
If the sheriff's department wants to proceed down that
Yes,
route, yes.
that's right. But we need to take that ordinance and pass it on to the sheriff's department and see if they can work with that. Because
Was that not already looked at? I would have thought it would be.
I'm not familiar with Leon County's ordinance, I don't.
Okay.
But I think what we're going to see is that once we pass this tonight, the sheriff's department will try and see if it can work to get the desired results, and if we need to bring it back, it'll be brought back. Is there any further discussion?
No, and thank everybody who's wanted this ordinance for their patience. I know it's been taking us a while to get it worked out and in place, but.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed unanimously. Item 6 this evening is request board approval to conduct the public hearing and adopt the proposed ordinance regulating candy-flavored tobacco. County Attorney Heather Encinoso.
Thank you. This is an item the board has seen previously as well. We're requesting board approval to conduct the public hearing and adopt the proposed ordinance establishing and regulating the sale of candy-flavored tobacco. As previously directed by the board, the intent here is to prohibit the sale of candy-flavored tobacco products within the county, except for establishments that are limited to patrons of 21 years of age or older.
Motion to approve, conduct the public hearing, and adopt the proposed ordinance regulating candy-flavored tobacco.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Just want to be sure, this doesn't mean you can't buy it in the county, you just can't go to a convenience store, basically.
Right.
and buy it.
That's correct. And I have one suggested amendment to the Section 7, which is the effective date, in order to give your local businesses time to adjust. I'm recommending that you change the effective date so that it's not effective until February 1.
I'll change the motion.
Okay. Everybody seems agreeable. Mr. Bruce Ashley?
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for your service. On behalf of Sheriff Crum on this agenda item, the Sheriff's Office is in support of banning the sale of candy-flavored tobacco and preventing sales of those products to our underage folks, our folks that are young, below the age of legal possession and or smoking of tobacco products. We believe that that is the best way to attack the problem is through regulation.
Thank you. And is there further discussion from the board?
No, I just would like to thank you for bringing this item.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm very excited to see it moving forward. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passed unanimously. Thank you. Item 7 this evening, request board approval to conduct the public hearing and adopt the proposed ordinance establishing the Greater Crawfordville Tax Increment Area. County Attorney Heather Encinosa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This ordinance basically asks the county to use your previously defined Crawfordville Town Plan, which is up here on the slide, including both the Greater Town Plan area and the core area. And in lieu of using a CRA, we have recommended that you adopt a more flexible home rule tax increment area in order to determine a contribution to a trust fund that will be needed to provide infrastructure improvements within this area. I'd like to point out, just right off the bat, nobody's going to pay any additional taxes as a result of this. All this does is provide a mechanism to measure the amount of the contribution the county is going to make to this trust fund to do things such as stormwater, transportation improvements, water and sewer improvements, and other needed infrastructure in order to promote economic development of this area.
Make a motion to approve, conduct a public hearing, and adopt the proposed ordinance establishing the Greater Crawfordville Tax Increment Area.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have one citizen who's filed a card, Mr. Bob Danzy.
My name is Bob Danzy. Thank you for letting me speak. What I propose is to allow this to be postponed. There's 3 seats for election, and should there be different leadership, they may see this differently. So I think I would at least bring up the idea. You all work with it the way you please, but to give this a chance to, you may want to make changes to it, and the people that will be moving forward after the election may just see things differently. So thank you.
And this doesn't actually start the process, it's just an implement, it makes it so we can in the future use it. Further discussion from the board?
Say that again.
County Attorney, can you clarify that?
Yeah, this sets up basically the procedure, the framework, in order for an increment and a contribution to actually be made to the trust fund. You would adopt a subsequent resolution in the spring once you have a better idea of what the tax values are and what your development plan that you want to implement will be, and the amount of the increment, the dollar amounts, will be in a subsequent resolution.
Or we could do nothing.
Or you could do nothing. Correct?
In the future.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure the public understands that, and I want to make sure I understand, is that since it's very similar to a CRA, and that since property values are tanked now, or almost tanked, anything that we raise above this amount we're set now will go into this trust fund. Is that right?
That's right. We'll establish a baseline property tax value in this area, and then as property values increase hopefully over the next 10-15 years, that incremental difference between the base where it's at today and that incremental difference, that portion or a portion of that portion will go into this trust fund that will be used to fund engineering, fund grants, matching for grants for infrastructure projects within this area. So basically, if you live in Crawfordville, your taxes, a portion of your taxes will stay in Crawfordville to affect what your infrastructure is going on in Crawfordville.
So it doesn't affect the millage rate.
Doesn't affect the millage rate.
Well, you say that, but it can affect the millage rate in the future, because if you take, and I'm not saying I'm against this yet.
I agree with you, Mike.
It can in the future, because if we start taking that money that's going to increase, and we're going to get more ad valorem taxes so that we can lower the ad valorem rate, then we're stifling ourselves by doing. I'm just saying that's one
of the reasons we selected this type of financing over a CRA, because this does allow us more flexibility year over year to change the percentage. Katie, have you got that other spreadsheet that you can put up?
I'd like to expand a little bit on what Mike said. I agree with him 100%. Does this mean the people in Smith Creek are not going to pay for things in Crawfordville? They're going to pay indirectly.
There you go.
But not, it's not near as much. We can't sit here and pretend that we're going to spend money in an area and it's not coming from somewhere. It didn't just come out of thin air. Right. So we do need to be realistic. I agree with what you're saying, but I think it's a much more fair way, if we do decide to do that. And my personal opinion is, this wouldn't generate a dime for the next 5 years, because I don't think property value is going to go back up.
Well, that's right. It's all based upon that. And you notice we've got, the spreadsheet has popped up. We did a 20-year projection, and we've actually got the contribution going down to 75% that would actually go to the fund itself. And at that, Katie, scroll over, it's about $17 million that would be generated if you get a 2% increase in property values year over year. There's some other higher increases, but 2%, that's a big, based on where we're at today, that would be a big leap. So you're right. I mean, it's all based on, nothing will happen if the property taxes or the property tax base does not go up.
I think it's another important thing to point out is that theoretically, your increase in your value is supposed to be due to the improvements that were done. In other words, if we use that money to build sidewalks or streetlights in Hudson Heights, theoretically that makes your house more valuable, and then we're supposed to use that increase in value that you got because you got streetlights or sidewalks. I understand what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying.
I don't disagree, Randy. I'm just saying that we just need to be careful as we go forward. Whether or not I'm here, whoever's here needs to think seriously about it. And I don't have a problem moving forward tonight with this part of the process. I may have a problem if I'm here in the future with the whole idea. I'm not sure.
Good points.
Okay.
I agree with all of it yet. So.
Any additional discussion?
I think this is very exciting and important step forward, because lots of people, including future commission current candidates for county commission, have actually been calling for this. It could do a lot to advance the implementation of the Crawfordville Town Plan and to help accelerate the development of that into really a thriving town. So I'm excited about it. I think just like setting the overlay district, this is another important step we've been talking about, and now we're finally starting to move forward. So, I'm very positive about it. And the concerns I usually get expressed from the outlying community is that they don't understand why our board is focused so much on the Crawfordville Town Plan, and they don't want to see resources that would come to them used for that. And this is a way, I think, of addressing their concerns. So, but I do have a question on, it says, let's see, what's the heading here? Section 4. And it says, the county administrator shall certify to the property appraiser by May of 2013 the boundaries of the greater Crawfordville area, the base year assessment, and the specific percentage rate to be applied. And I certainly agree with the base year assessment role and the specific percentage rate, but have we not already specified the boundaries of the greater Crawfordville area? So I'm not sure why that needs to be done. Or are you just saying that you're certifying the tax increment boundaries
that's what we're certifying.
As equal or the same as the greater Crawfordville area? Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It passed unanimously. Our last public hearing this evening is to request board approval to conduct the public hearing and adopt a transmittal of a comprehensive plan text amendment pertaining to a family homestead subdivision. Mr. Louis Cerna, our planning director.
Good evening, Commissioners. Yes, this is for a transmittal of a comprehensive plan text amendment. It will be for the addition of a new policy 1.10 of the future land use element of the comp plan. This amendment would allow owners of property who own 20 acres or more to convey land to their family members as defined in Florida statutes for homestead purposes, despite the density restrictions of the comprehensive plan and the land development code. We are still working on the implementation regulations that will be inserted in our land development code that contain a lot of the details of how this will be implemented, but I can answer any questions regarding those details if you like. But again, we're just looking at the addition of this policy 1.10. This item went to the Planning Commission on October 8th, and they voted unanimously to recommend that you transmit this amendment to the state.
I make a motion to approve, conduct a public hearing, and approve to transmit the proposed comp plan amendment for the creation of new policy 1.1 of the future land use element pertaining to the family homestead subdivision. But I'd like to make change, if I could, to it. And if I could explain it, I would personally like to see if it's family land that either you or your heirs that have been passed down to your heirs owned prior to the comp plan adoption, that we cut the threshold down to 1 acre with a minimum lot size of a half acre. If I can get a second, we can discuss it.
I'll second it for discussion. I got a problem with the size, but we can talk about it.
Okay. And the reason why I'm saying this is just from my personal experience for Smith Creek, for example. I keep bringing that up, but my grandmother's property, for example, she has 4 or 5 acres, and if she wanted to give, she's passed away a while ago, and if her heirs wanted to give some to some of the grandchildren, that they couldn't do it even under this plan. I mean, I don't have 20 acres. I think this is really going to benefit the large landowners, and if we're really trying to benefit the most people, I think we should make it smaller. I really don't think there's going to be a rush of people coming in, because you have to build a house on it. It has to be homesteaded. You can't just split it out and then decide to sell it. And under my proposal, you couldn't go buy 5 acres today and then give an acre to your kid tomorrow. It had to be something that's been in the family prior to 95. And now that's what I would ask.
Well, let me ask you, I like everything you said, except I was thinking more like an acre, not a half acre, but an acre. Now,
that's fine.
But are you saying that it can only be
that's what the state
divided once? That's not divided again.
Let me read exactly what the state statute said, because we have to follow it. It says, local government may include in the comp plan allowing the use of a parcel of property solely as a homestead by an individual who is the grandparent, parent, step-parent, adopted parent, sibling, child, stepchild, adopted child, or grandchild of the person who conveyed the parcel to said individual. So Grandma gave it to me, notwithstanding the density.
Okay, but stop there. Does that say that you can further subdivide it to your siblings?
Such a provision shall only apply once to any individual.
There you go. I like that. I'm fine with that.
Let me take that back. If my grandma had 10 acres, she gave me 5, 10 years from now, yes, I could give my children 1 acre of that.
Okay.
If it's direct children.
If we leave 1 acre. Yes. I'm fine with 1 acre. I'm not with a half an acre.
You're saying 1 acre?
Actually, we're not even discussing that part now, I don't think, are we, about the acreage size?
Yeah, we are. Well, I think we are discussing.
We're talking we need to discuss whether it's going to be 20 acres, whether you have to have 20 acres in order to start dividing.
Contiguous acres or 10, I'm with you.
Why don't we say then that, let's take the half acre out? Well, 1 acre is what.
Well, no, I think we need to back up, Brandon. I think we're confusing.
Okay.
I think what we need to address first is what is the
parent parcel size.
Yes, the parent parcel size. Heather, how small can that go to? Is that up to the board?
Yes.
That is a policy decision. The statute does not speak to that. We may have some opinions on that.
I'm fine with that.
And making the smallest lot 1 acre, which we're not really discussing that right now, but I think that would work for me too.
Yes.
All right, let's do that again. You got a 5 acre tract and you want to give to your kids 1 acre.
If you've owned it prior to 95, or if your mom or grandma or whatever, and you
prior to 1995.
Yes. Prior to the comp plan. Because prior to 95, you could do this anyway.
Yeah, but you got 5 acres and you want to give your child 1 acre.
Yes.
And your child cannot divide his 1 acre into another part.
No.
That's what.
And you cannot do this in a subdivision. For example, I live in Brook Forest.
Yeah.
I had 5 acres. I could not.
That's correct.
Where I live, I got 18 acres. I couldn't give any to my kid because I live in a subdivision.
Correct.
Depending
on your...
Is that correct? You can't do it in a subdivision?
Well, it would depend on
Well, it's gotta be
the
divided.
subdivision restriction.
Yeah, well, no, it's the proposed, which I don't want to get too far off track, but the proposed comp plan language I saw, Louis, said if you're in a platted subdivision, you can't do this.
You cannot do it in
No,
a
you
platted subdivision.
So even if you got,
You cannot re-subdivide a platted lot without actually plotting.
you live in Hunter's Glen on a 100-acre lot, you couldn't cut out 5 acres for your kid.
I know my motivation to do this is like you're saying, I mean, these are folks who've had property for generations and generations, that's their property rights. I don't want to take that away from them, but I want to be reasonable in the size, and I think an acre is certainly reasonable. That's what I live on, is an acre. I know what I can do with my property.
Go along with that. And I think this, Louis, thank you so much for bringing this forward, by the way. This is a great idea.
We have several citizens. Do you want to hear from the citizens?
But I think we need,
I'd like some questions.
Commissioner Arndt?
I was going to say, I think we need to because right now, and Louis, step in here, I mean, you're talking about having really two different kinds of processes then. One, if you owned the land prior to the effective date of the comp plan, then you only have to have 5 acres.
No,
But if you,
1.
1 acre.
how do you have 1 acre and then break off a 1 acre?
Obviously, you have to have at least 2.
Okay.
The minimum lot size would be 1 acre that you can break out.
Of a 1 acre. Well, that's
Is there a minimum lot size that could be divided?
Created?
Not created, divided. Like here, Louis, would you explain, this is 20 acres, you have to start out owning at least 20 acres in what's proposed.
That's right. The reason we started with 20 acres is because the larger landowners are the ones that are really affected by the density restrictions of the comp plan. And I think our concern with going smaller than, say, 10 acres is that this would open up greater density in areas where it wasn't intended, where you could have, you may not have services to support many lots, like even paved roads. I think the time restriction is somewhat of a safety valve for that. It does restrict you more if you go back to before the comp plan. It is a little harder for us as staff to verify that because they could have sold the property in the interim, and we just we have to do some verification of that. But that's why we started with just the 20 acres without a time restriction.
So in other words, 20 acres would have no time restriction whatsoever, but if you had less than 20, you had to prove that you owned it or your family owned it prior to 95.
That's not how we've proposed it.
I know, but that's what I'm proposing.
That's what you're
Are we
That's what I
saying
was
they
trying to get clarification on. Are we talking 2 different ways to qualify?
That's exactly right.
And is this a substantial enough change that it needs to come back at
Yes,
the next meeting?
you guys will have to, this will have to go back to planning.
And that's fine. I want to catch this now.
Are we talking about one division or just multiple? Okay, let's say the guy has 20 acres, and they got 10 kids. They can give each of them an acre.
There's no limit as long as you,
Stay with
as long as they're in air, and then we'll likely come back in the land development code and limit you to a half an acre because of septic tank regulations primarily.
But what Mike proposed is more restrictive than that. He said we're limited to 1 acre. That's what Mike has said.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's
even
your
more
direction, but we do have to have a limit at some point.
I'm not so naive to think, Jay, that might could possibly happen, but I think realistically, that's probably not going to happen.
Well, a lot of people might just want to give the kid, you hear people talking all the time, well, I'm just going to give my child an acre.
Right.
So they'll, whatever.
But they can't just give them a vacant acre. They have to build a homestead house on it. That's what the statute says. They have to build a house.
Fine.
And live on it. Now, I know it's going to be very difficult for them to come up with procedures to enforce this. I don't envy them, because what if you build a house and 2 years later you get foreclosed on? I mean, what do
You can't put enough restrictions on to cover all the
I agree with
eventualities.
you 100%, and I'm always in favor of not trying to cover every contingency. I don't know how many times I've said that. I think it'll benefit a lot of people. Some might slip through the cracks, but...
Okay, Commissioner Arndt?
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm clear. This proposal that was originally for the public hearing was you needed a minimum of 20 acres, and then it's not specified in here how small or how large the lot has to be for the new property, but you say it will end up being at least half an acre because of septic tank provisions once you get to the implementation.
That's correct.
Okay. And this is not, see, I read it as specific to people who own property before the comp plan, and that's not true?
That's not how it's proposed, that's right.
I want to say that 20 acres, I want to start at 5 acres, that the person that,
No, we're down to one.
We're down to 2.
well, 5 acres.
Two, really.
Okay, 2.
2 acres. Because you can't make a lot smaller than 1 acre, therefore you have to have at least 2.
Yeah, I can go with 2, and the smallest lot can be 1.
Right. Okay, excellent. We've talked about this, and it looks like what's going to happen is it's going to be tabled, but we do have several citizens who filed cards. We're going to start out with Mr. John Trice, 3 minutes, to be followed by Mr. Chuck Hess.
John Trice, 35 J&K Lane. I live in a subdivision where lots are supposed to be 5 acres. The people across the street from me divided a 5-acre lot into 2.5 acres. They sold 2.5 acres with a house on it. Then they put a mobile home on 2.5 acres. How could they do that if y'all just doing this? And they went it through Wakulla County's office over there. And Ron Nowry signed it. There was a copy of it, but it's disappeared. Because I seen it, because I come down here and fussed about it and seen it, and then I thought about, well, I'll just sue the county. But I love to Wakulla County too much to be suing the county. So I want to know how come this stuff goes on. And it was what's his name over that was supposed to be fired? He was working, and the girl that was working with him was in the office. And she said I couldn't bust up my 5 acres. So I would like to know how come this stuff goes on in our county. It's been going on. And now we're starting to let people bust land. So this kind of stuff, people think I'm a troublemaker, but I just want to know how come this stuff goes on all the time in our county.
I know we aren't supposed to engage in dialogue, but it's my impression that there were a lot of illegal subdivisions that were made, and that the process where they can get it recorded and with the clerk of courts without having gone through a planning department is how we ended up with a lot of these. And I've asked numerous times, what, if anything, can we do to prevent that from continuing to happen? I'm not sure what.
That's a change in state law, and currently the Florida Association of Counties is working on that very issue.
Okay, good.
We don't want to get too much dialogue because we don't.
That's different from
Okay, because I was trying to stop it at the time it happened, because I couldn't bust mine up, because I was going to borrow money for legal fees on mine. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chuck Hess, to be followed by Mr. Bob Danzy.
Chuck Hess, 112 Lake Island Circle, speaking for CCAL. I get concerned from what y'all said tonight. Basically, if you purchased any tract over 20 acres, you can break it up. Or if you have a tract that you've had since 95, you can break it up. And we have density requirements, and people are buying land because they want to be out with one density, and now you're going to let somebody put 10 houses on 10 acres. This doesn't seem like you're being fair to everyone. You're bending over your back for somebody that's got a large parcel of land and has lots of kids. I don't know if that's what you're trying to do, but that's what it sounds like you're trying to do. We have some density. We have some density areas. How dense we want the population in an area. It seems like we should be following those rules. If they have a parcel, they can break it up. But getting it down to 1 acre parcels just doesn't seem to make sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob Danzy, to be followed by Linda Langston.
Yes, my name is Bob Danzy. Thank you. Now, let me see if I can make some sense out of this. Very few people are going to qualify because you can't just go buy 20 acres because typically that's going to be platted. If somebody breaks up 100 acres, at this point they're going to be platted out. So you're not just going to go get 20 acres and then cut an acre off of it. to give to your kid. You're going to have had it for a while. It's going to be fairly restrictive to who can use it. Will somebody slip through the system and really take advantage of it? Probably so, but in the rest of history, yeah, probably so. But it gives so much of the rights to people that have owned their land and paid taxes on it, and they should be able to use it and do a little more. My family, my granddaddy owned 80 acres where I came from. He gave my daddy an acre. Under our rules today, he'd have had to give him 20, and that would have created a situation where he had to give my uncle 20. He gave my daddy an acre. My mom and daddy built a house on it, and that's where I grew up. I got to grow up on the family farm, my 80-acre family farm. It just makes sense. I just want to see. To what the gentleman said a minute ago, that across the road from him, maybe that was a replat of a 5-acre lot that he didn't understand was a replat, and it was perfectly legal. It's not just because it was done was it illegal. I've done a replat before of an acre I owned and to 2 half-acre lots. So thank you.
Thank you. And Linda Langston, our final speaker.
Thank you. Thank you all for your time. My name is Linda Langston. I live at 345 Ted Langston Road. My address shows it as Sopchoppy. I actually live in Smith Creek.
That's right.
Thank you for bringing up Smith
Oh,
Creek.
Linda,
It always
a long
makes me
time.
feel good when I can hear folks speak of Smith Creek. I am married into a family, the Langstons, who have been in this county before it was a county. We live on family land. We're faced with this situation right now in our family. There are 13 families from the Ira Langston original family estate that live on the particular road or have land on the particular road that I live on. My husband and I, we have right at 10 acres, not quite. So we don't qualify to allow any of my children to home this. If I were to die today, nobody can live in that house and be in compliance with the codes here in the county because you all have 1 in 10. When we moved in there in 1985, we bought the property. We didn't move right when we bought it. We bought it from an aunt. She was having some troubles, and rather than to let it go out of the family, she allowed us to have this property, and we helped her in a situation that she was in. We chose to bring our children down here in Smith Creek. The county's important to us. I have 3 children. I would love to be able to say to each one of my kids, job well done. If something happens to me and your daddy, you take this place and you take care of it. I pay $2,000 a year in land taxes on it. That's kind of sad to think that just by somebody dying, it's going to be worthless, but you're going to want the tax money. I asked the Lord tonight before I came up here, I said, please don't let me get up there and make a fool of myself because I don't know how to speak in public very well. But this is troubling to me because we do have properties up there. My brother-in-law passed away in 2009 on the family homestead, the original Ira Langston homestead, back to 1900 the house was built. Well, he has no children of his own, never married. My children and my brother-in-law's children are his kids. The way it reads right now, they're not heirs to this because it was an uncle. That's okay too. We'll have to go back and redo some of the paperwork to figure it out. But my thing is, right now, none of us that live up there, we were grandfathered into this. We understood when this took place. Like I said, 85 is when I've been there and had my name on that deed. My mother-in-law and family had their name on that deed back before 1895, I believe it was. I wanted to do a little bit more research. I'm going to let my time run out. Whenever we bought it, the county had it zoned as 1 resident, 1 house per 1 acre. Great. We've got 8 acres. The kids can live at home if they want to. If they don't, so be it. Now your land and development code has it an RR1. That means 1 in 10 acres. So you made me in non-compliance automatically when all this stuff went into stirring. Nothing's changed. In this particular instance, there's 2 houses on that homestead, had been for over 20 years. As soon as my brother-in-law passed away, we're not in compliance anymore. Imagine that. I'm asking you all to consider this. I never want to put 50 mobile homes on an acre of property. That's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm just asking you to make it where people like us We'd never be able to afford 20 acres. It took all we could do to afford what we have. And I know I'm running past, but I noticed a couple past the buzzer. I just want to ask you if this is not the right ordinance to get this cleared up. I'd ask that the county commission work on this, because there is some language in here that changes. 1 acre is fine. What happens to these that are 1.6 acres now? I'm not asking you to narrow it down anymore. I'm asking you to let me give it to my kids.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I think we'll talk about it more.
I hope you will. I hope you consider it, man, and I appreciate your time, and I do feel like you all do a great job, and I think my county does a great job, and I know the lady over there in the corner, I've talked with her a lot of times. She knows her stuff, and she sticks to it, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. Is there further discussion from the board on the item or the issues that were brought up?
We just need to make sure it's going to have to come back to us, so we need to make sure we got the wording. You understand what we want to do?
I think, are you clear too?
I think so, yeah, at least enough to put together a draft for you.
Is it possible to make heirs include nieces and nephews, or does that get into, that has to be direct
Limited by
descendants?
statute.
Statute
Okay.
excludes that. I talked to Linda about that too. That's why I brought up a half acre is kind of what Linda had said, but if it takes it to get it passed to make it an acre, then I'm fine.
Well, I mean, she made a good point about 1.6 acres, but somewhere you got to cut it off, and you got to say, you got to have a contingent amount of 2 acres, and you can break it out into 1. Then that's what it is.
And I think the point she was making is, if I understood correctly, was she wants the person who lives on the 1.6 acres to be able to continue to live on the 1.6 acres. I don't think she's trying to make it a smaller lot.
I don't think that's we're not, the people that are there today that house that you built is just like any other house in the county. We're not going to make a change on that house. Those people can continue to live on.
Not necessarily, Jerry.
Really?
I can go write a deed. I can cut an acre out on my 18 acres. Not illegally, but all I gotta do is go to the courthouse and record the deed, and it's done. They can start paying taxes on it. But they can't come back and build a house on it, because they'll go to the building department, or the planning department will say this is a non-conforming piece of property. There's a lot of houses that are non-conforming, in other words. There were 2 houses on the property. I know in Linda's case, I'm going to try to speak for you on this one, but there were 2 houses on the property. When her brother-in-law died, he split it up via deed, not via the county. He gave this kid a deed and this kid a deed, and each one has a house on it. But right now they're non-conforming, so if this house burnt to the ground, they could never rebuild
Were
it.
they non-conforming at the time that he did that?
Only because of our zoning issues, I think.
I doubt if our zoning, I'm sure they were conforming at the time that they built.
Probably so, with 2 houses on it, but
And I apologize, we can't get into a dialogue from the
I think this
audience.
resolves most issues if we cut it down.
And I think you'll see us as when it comes back, there'll be an ongoing dialogue. I think we're going to get this fixed. The motion is amended to table and bring back as amended, correct?
Yes.
That's fine if that's what we need to do. What I did the motion for the public hearing with my changes, but Heather, do I need to pull that motion and make a motion to table it and send it back to the planning department with the changes we made, the planning and zoning?
That would be fine.
I'll change my motion to send it back to the planning commission.
All right, so we have a motion to table and bring back as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Thanks. Earlier this evening, we moved towards the presentations to the beginning of the meeting, but we did have one person who I don't think got the message who's here to make a presentation. We'll have this one presentation, and then we'll move on to citizens to be heard. We have a presentation this evening from Legal Services of North Florida by Mary Deagle.
Thank you.
I tried to get past that exactly before the public hearings. It's okay. If you look at the agenda, this is where you are.
Good evening. I'm Mary Deagle from Legal Services of North Florida, and I want to thank Commissioner Brock and the rest of you for inviting us here this evening to tell you a little bit about the services we provide for the people of Wakulla County. For those of you who are not familiar with legal services in North Florida, we provide no-cost civil legal representation to domestic violence victims, seniors, children, people in danger of losing their homes, and poverty-level clients. We serve 16 counties in North Florida, and we serve Wakulla County out of our office in Tallahassee, which serves 4 counties. So we have 6 attorneys who are serving the people of Wakulla County. We provide outreach services to do intake. We have someone who comes down and talks about public benefits with people, and we've been doing a lot of work lately with oil spill victims all throughout North Florida, but particularly also in Wakulla County. And those can be a variety of issues, and whether someone was affected personally or professionally. We're actually doing medical claims now for some folks who were affected, whether they were out working, cleaning up the oil spill, or they were out in the water. And so there's a lot more funds available, there's a lot more help available, and one of the things I was going to ask you tonight is also for your help to get that word out to the people of Wakulla County. Any way we can share with people, I put a flyer inside your folders that I just gave you that has a toll-free number that people all across the state can use, but it will get someone to an individual right away to help them. And so we want to be able to help as many people in Wakulla County as need that help. They may have applied before and got turned down. Doesn't mean they can't apply again for that help from the Restoration Act. So that is one thing we do. Last year we served over 593 families in Wakulla County, and 52% of those were about family disputes. A lot of times it's family problems affect the entire community. If we can solve an issue that has to do with family law issues, sometimes it doesn't escalate into more violence. Sometimes then the sheriff doesn't have to come. Sometimes children don't have to be taken away. And so we really do a lot of work in that area. 16% of our clients in Wakulla County were consumer areas, 13% in housing matters, and 2% in public benefits. Last year we got in just cash in people's hands so that they could spend it at home. We had $7,400 in alimony, monthly child support, $4,100 a month, these are all monthly figures, okay, in alimony, $45,000 in disability, in back payments in disability, and now they're going to continue to get disability payments after that, and $9,700 in monthly disabilities. You start adding up all those figures, and that's a lot of money spent at the gas station, at the grocery store.
And that's just here in Wakulla?
That's just Wakulla County. If we looked at the unserved people in the entire community, you know this more than we do. I mean, there are 4,266 people living below the federal poverty guidelines in Wakulla County. That's a lot of people. We were able to serve 523 of them last year, and national statistics show us that someone who's living below the federal poverty guidelines is 3 times more likely to need an attorney than the rest of us are. And that figure represents 1,600 households. So there's 1,600 households, and you know, it's only getting worse. There's people who didn't need us a couple years ago who need us today to save their homes, to keep their families together. So if we looked at all the funding we get and all the bits and pieces and all the people we're able to serve, we would still need another $200,000 a year to serve the people of Wakulla County. But we do the work on under $500 a case, under $100 per hour. I will say you can't go out and buy an attorney any other way, that way. But we want to thank Wakulla County. As most of you know, there's an ordinance out there where you collect funds off of criminal cases, and a quarter of those funds that are collected from people who have those cases goes to 4 different entities: law library, state administrator, juvenile justice, court administrator, juvenile justice, and legal services. So we do get some funds that just pass through the county, but we do not get any direct funding from the county commission. But we do get United Way money from the community and individual contributions. We have inside your folder as well a pamphlet on our first Wednesday clinic, which is a way that people can come to see us, and it's we utilize volunteer attorneys and staff for that. We also have a hotline where people can call us and ask questions, but they may not have to have a full representation by an attorney. So we've looked at all kinds of ways to expand our services, and your help in getting the word out about the oil spill will be very helpful. And if you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer those.
So to understand correctly, you're here on the first Wednesday of every month, is that?
Yes, and we're also here quarterly with the disability paralegal, who is a wonderful gentleman who knows everything about public benefits, and he comes quarterly just to do one-on-one representation in that area. Of course, our attorneys are always here in court with their clients, whether it's a domestic violence case or helping to save someone's home.
I just think we need to get the word out maybe through our housing folks. I don't know if Ezra's still here, our food pantries and some other.
And we have those brochures that you see. I can get as many, and they're also available on our website.
Thanks.
So you're a nonprofit?
Yes, sir. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Challenging times.
All right. Any further questions or discussion? Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate all the hard work you're doing.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to move into citizens to be heard. Our first citizen to speak this evening is Mr. Bob Dancy, to be followed by Mr. Howard Kessler.
Thank you for giving me a few minutes here. It's my understanding that there's been an item pulled under consent that was going to be get a lot of attention, I suppose, concerning citizens to be heard. And I just want to put my 2 cents worth in to say that I appreciate being able to get up here and have my say on things, and hopefully sometimes somebody gives you some good ideas. But I don't think it should be used as a political platform. I don't think it should be used to go after individuals. I don't think that I'm not sure how to make that rule. And Randy, I think you were talking about doing something with that. So I just support you what you're talking about doing as far as is making it, giving this some guidelines, and I don't necessarily think it will impose on anybody's rights that I can't just get up here and bash one of you. So that's what I'd like to say. And if you're going to have something to say that's not about what's going on here, that's fine. Maybe you could say something like, I think we got a pretty good football team this year. So that would be an example of something to say other than political, rather than running somebody in the ground. So thank you.
Thank you. Howard Kessler, to be followed by John Trice.
Good evening, Howard Kessler, Wakulla BoCC Road. The citizens to be heard portion of the meeting is a very important portion of the meeting for the citizens. And I think that it's important that the citizens be involved in whatever policy changes are coming forward. I think that this needs to be workshopped. I think the citizens need to be heard. And I think that they are 50% of this equation of what's going on here. And what is county business? What is not county business? And who determines that are all important issues. So I would urge you to have a workshop before you come forward with any changes or clarifications to the policy. Thank you.
Thank you. John Trice, to be followed by Hugh Taylor.
I guess y'all doing a pretty good job. I do need to ask Mike one question. Why are you retiring after calling our kids snot-nosed Jones? Please let me know later on about that. I heard you were retiring after all the Jones do like him. You did call them snot-nosed Jones up here at one of the meetings. I got it on CD. The rest of you doing a good job besides him doing that there Jones. I'm not for that. I got some that go to school and they don't go to school, and I don't like them called snot-nosed young ones. Thank you.
Thank you. Hugh Taylor to be followed by Chris Russell.
Hugh Taylor, 1357 Martin Luther King Road. I'd like to remind Mr. Danzy that what he just said was political. I find it ironic to be speaking about citizens to be heard at Citizens to be Heard, but what's worse, even though this item is tabled, you had it on the consent agenda, trying to slide it by us, no doubt. The consent agenda is, per your own policy, for non-controversial and procedural items, which I don't think this is. So much for open government, which everybody likes to talk about, but nobody likes to do. So, I'm reminding voters to think about that tomorrow when they see folks up here talking about citizens to be heard. As a Democrat, I'm flabbergasted, saddened, and appalled. Let me tell you a story, and based on what I saw, I hope this is not the last time a citizen can get up here and tell a story. The only reason I speak at Citizens to be Heard is because of a friend of mine was thrown out for speaking. I spoke at that meeting because I would do what most folks would do, is defend his right to speak. It's time to grow up, get some skin thickener, and quit the government by daddy at the supper table. Citizens have valuable things to say. Unbeknownst to most of the public, citizens have saved this county hundreds of thousands of dollars by speaking up, mostly at Citizens to be Heard. The only thing I can say is, I hope you follow your own procedures and policies in bringing this item forward. If you do, I would also suggest, as Dr. Kessler suggested, you workshop it. Otherwise, I will speak as my friend spoke, and you can escort me from the podium as he was. And maybe then there will be others that follow me as I followed him. Younger, healthier, more articulate than I was, and hopefully many, many more. Now I have one other thing that I think is county business, as it was some comments made by the sheriff, so I would like to speak out about Sheriff Crum politicizing the Sheriff's Department, writing about regular citizens, and you all should be concerned, but I haven't heard much about it. As you still haven't fixed the sheriff's bullying idea of a tribute to a crony caving into his actions. As I started browsing around the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office website, I looked for other mentions of citizens. And when you consider all the criminals that we have in this county, all the miscreants we could have made parting remarks about, all the crack and meth dealers, he chose to write about me and one other private citizen in the past. That's more than any criminal, including Gary Michael Holton. And what's wrong with that picture. I think a definite change in the sheriff's department would fix that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chris Russell, our last speaker this evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. Chris Russell, 92 Pimlico. I just want to take this opportunity to thank Ms. Hartz, Mr. Brock, and Mr. Stewart for serving over the last 4 years. Y'all had some challenges, but y'all seem to get along pretty well and make some progress. And it's a tough job, and you always have a target on your back. But thank you for doing it, Ms. Hartz. You're definitely going to be gone, so good luck. I hope it goes well with you. Thank you for serving.
And one more meeting now.
Do you? Well, right. But I think I'm going to be out of town that one, so I wanted to come forward. Mr. Brock, Mr. Stewart, should things not go the way you want tomorrow, I wish you well. I hope it goes well. Seriously, thank you for staying up and serving the last 4 years. You should be committed for taking that task on. And on that note, in closing, as a citizen who is being heard, I sure appreciate the opportunity to come here and speak before y'all on any issue that comes across my mind in any opinion. So thank you. Good luck to y'all tomorrow, and good luck in all your endeavors, Ms. Hartz. Bye-bye.
Thank you. And that concludes Citizens to be Heard. Up next on our agenda this evening is the consent agenda. Were there any items pulled from the consent agenda?
Pulled one.
Ms. Hartz, you pulled one? Which one did you pull?
Community Center.
A motion to approve consent agenda is modified. Second.
All right. All in favor of approving the consent agenda minus item 13?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. We will now go to item 13. Ms. Encinoso?
This is a request for approval to schedule and advertise a public hearing to amend the membership of the Wakulla County Community Center Advisory Group from the original, I believe it was 11 members, down to a 5-member group in order to hopefully facilitate and making it easier for that group to conduct its business and meet quorums.
Okay. Commissioner Arts, you pulled the item?
Yes, and I'm glad to see that we're still committed to having a community center advisory group. I know that the original group went through its struggles. I don't think we made clear that we were looking for advocates. But anyway, so I did talk to some people who were on the temporary advisory committee because they were the ones who had proposed this 11-member structure originally. I didn't hear any major objections to reconfiguring it this way. I had a couple questions. It wasn't clear to me in reading through whether it just says the 5 members will be appointed by the board. And I didn't know if that meant we were going to, each board member was going to appoint one person, or we were going to invite interested people to apply, and then the board as a whole pick the 5. I didn't know what
That's not specified in the ordinance, and in the past, you guys have not required that to be specified in the ordinance. You can determine as a board how you want to do that. If you each want to bring forward 1 member, that's fine. If you want to take applications and vote upon the 5-member slate as a board, that's fine.
I would personally prefer us not to appoint our own member. Anytime we can get people apply for it, and then we'll I know we're not discussing this right now, but that would be my personal preference, is we don't pick our own person.
Yeah, it just seems that and that's most boards, it seems like we do appoint one, whether it's the park board or the rec board or whatever. So I'm happy to have it be a board, have the board consider a slate and choose 5 people from that. I don't have a problem with that. I know David had suggested, and I would support this, I won't be here when it comes back, but we had some people who were very committed on that original group, and I hope they would be given special consideration. I mean, who did attend meetings, who wanted to work with fundraising and other things to help the Y.
Let me give you an example why I say that.
Community Center.
This isn't the case, but let's just say I hated the community center with a burning passion. I'm going to appoint someone that's going to really give you a hard time, but I think if the board as a whole picks 5 people, and the consensus, the consensus of the board is that we want to move forward, you're going to pick people that do want it to move forward and not try to throw a wrench in the machine. I've seen it happen a couple times.
Well, if we go through the application process, that'll mean people that really want to serve will be applying versus you guys talking to somebody who's doing your favor.
Exactly.
So that makes a big difference. I agree.
Okay. And then the other thing I wanted to ask about was we had felt it was important for the YMCA to be on the advisor or participate in with the advisory committee. So I don't know that I would see them being one of the 5, but I'm wondering if they should have an ex officio appointment or whatever.
I agree, Lynn. I don't think they should be, because I think it's a conflict of interest since they have bid on running the place. I think they should be. I don't think they should be part of that committee for that. In my mind, for that reason.
Okay, although I know the Y has stated that to be successful in the communities they go to, they always have an advisory committee, and I don't want them to feel like they have to set up a second one.
Well, but I don't think they should be part of that.
I agree, but is not even on an ex officio basis where maybe they're not a voting member, but they still are
consulted, that's fine,
included
yeah.
in
This will be in their interest and their utmost interest, so they'll be there at every meeting, but we can make them an ex officio non-voting and not have a conflict there.
I think that would be a good idea.
I agree.
Okay, so then I move, I move that we approve to schedule and advertise a public hearing to consider an ordinance amending the membership of the Wakulla County Community Center Advisory Committee as we've discussed.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Pass unanimously. Thank you. Up next this evening is our planning and zoning items. We have one planning and zoning item this evening. It's item number 22, an application for change of zoning R12-9. This is a semi-judicial procedure. County Attorney, would you like to swear us?
Swear at us?
That too. No. In accordance with Section 24.01 of the County Code, each commission member needs to disclose any contacts you may have received from interested parties or their representatives, any lobbyists, or other third parties concerning this application, and any personal investigation or knowledge that you may be relying upon. Commissioner Arts?
I spoke with staff.
No one.
Spoke with the Pygotts a few months back.
I wouldn't call them a lobbyist, but I think one of the Pygotts called me.
Actually, I think I got a letter too. I'm sorry. I think I got a letter.
I spoke with the landowner, the Pygotts.
And if you got a letter, if you could just get a copy of that for the record, that would be helpful.
I think it was a letter from the Pygotts.
Okay. Now I need to swear in anyone who's going to provide any information on this application. Please stand up, including the applicant if you plan on speaking and you're here.
Anyone who's filled out a card or plans to speak, please stand.
You're not going to speak.
You might be asked a question.
It won't hurt to stand up, Mr. Pygott, and be sworn in.
Just where you're standing is good.
Yeah, you can stay there. Just hold up your hand, please. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Louis.
Good evening, Commissioners. Again, this is a request for change in zoning from C2, General Commercial, and RR1 to RR2. This is a 2.98-acre parcel located at 45 Medart VFD Lane. It's on the west side of 98, there at Medart VFD Lane. This property has a future land use designation of Rural 2, so the rezoning would actually make the property consistent with the future land use designation on the property. We've discussed with the Pygotts some concerns on whether or not that parcel that's currently zoned general commercial is an actual lot of record and whether or not it can retain that status. And what we will need to do is do some additional research to determine that. But we've discussed that with them, and they indicated they would like to proceed with the rezoning, and we concur that the rezoning would make the property consistent with the future land use designation on the property, and we will do some additional research after the meeting to discuss their future plans, whether or not we can accommodate them. But again, they would like to proceed with the rezoning. The Planning Commission did review this item, and they did recommend unanimously in favor of it, so we're recommending that we proceed with this rezoning request.
I'll make a motion to conduct the final public hearing and adopt the proposed ordinance amending the official zoning map, amending official zoning from C2 to RR1 zoning districts to RR2 zoning districts based upon the recommendation of the Planning Commission and findings, facts, and clear law made by the board. Any evidence submitted hereon, except in the staff report.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
Is there further discussion from the board?
I have a question for Louis. Did I just understand that you aren't certain that this is actually, that part of this is C2?
No, the question is whether or not that property was changed to C2 at a certain point, and they would like to change it back to a residential district, whether or not that additional lot of record, which is now C2, would qualify as a legal lot of record for putting an additional unit on it, basically. Okay.
So this is at their own risk, basically. If it changes to residential zoning and they can't build a house on it, it's still going to be residential zoning.
That's correct.
But
yes.
You're working with them on that track.
We're going to work with them, do some research, and get to the bottom of that to find out whether or not we can accommodate an additional unit. But again, it is the existing residential zoning doesn't meet the current future land use designation, so we'd like to go ahead and get everything changed to RR2 at this point and proceed.
Could I ask Mr. Pikett some questions, please?
Mr. Pikett, could you come to the podium? Glad we swore you in.
Want to do it again?
Nope,
No,
you're good.
you're fine. Do we need to? Thank you, sir. Were you the one who applied for the originally for the commercial zoning?
No, I was not.
Okay.
I'll give you the story of it. Years ago, this is my old home place. I was raised on this property. And when my daddy died, my mama, we split it up. I got the back half, and I built me a home on it. And the front half, I gave to my brother John. And he sold it to his daughter, and she sold it to Bickerstaff, the one that had the marine shop there. And Bickerstaff is the one that got it changed to commercial. And this past April, I had the opportunity to buy it back. And I bought it back, and all I want to do is have it RR2 with my home place. It's one piece of property now.
But with the intent of building a second home on the...
If I can survey off 2 acres out of the whole 2.9 acres. If I can survey off 2 acres or buy some more land to go with it, where I get 2 acres or work it out with Tony, Louis, we'll work that out.
Okay, and I just want to make sure you're prepared to give up the commercial zoning, even though you may not be able to build a second house there.
I understand. If I kept it commercial, I couldn't build it either.
No, but you could build a commercial property, or build, sell it or whatever. I
think he's trying to get the family homestead back.
Okay, well, we've talked about doing kind of a village of Medart, and I've always seen this part near the firefighter lane as being probably a future downtown, and if so, a commercial property could be really advantageous for you to have there.
It's not advantageous to me, because I don't know. It's my home place, and I ain't gonna build no commercial on it.
Okay, all right. Well, I just wanted to make sure you.
and
Talk him into it, Lynn.
And all this property, the home that was there, it all has sewage and city sewage and city water.
So, if we ever get to 2 acres, it shouldn't be no problem, being able to.
Okay, usually, there are many places in the county where I would like to see commercial downzoned. This isn't particularly one of them, but I'll support you on it, even that you're aware of what you're giving up. Okay.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed unanimously. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Paget. Okay, on to general business this evening. We're going to go on to item 24, request board approval of a resolution appointing members to the Wakulla County Restore Act Advisory Committee. Jessica Welch.
I'll take this. Jess and I and Heather will take this. The proposed resolution establishes a 13-member Wakulla County Restore Act Advisory Committee and appoints members based on criteria set forth by the board at its October 1st, 2012 meeting and through the proposed ordinance being considered at this same meeting. Currently, the members and alternate members of the committee will include the following individuals selected by the following entities. City of Sopchoppy has selected Laura Edwards as their member and Martha Evans as their alternate. City of St. Mark's has selected Alan Hobbs as their member and Zoe Mansfield as their alternate. Panacea Waterfronts has selected Mark Mitchell as member and Larry Tucker as alternate. Wakulla Chamber of Commerce has selected Billy Mills as its member and Dan Hennessy, as alternate. The EDC, Economic Development Council, has selected Jay Westmark as member and Kevin Vaughn as alternate. Naj Patel as member and Jacqueline Youngstrand as alternate for the TDC, Tourist Development Council. Robert Pierce as member selected by the Wakulla County Board of Administration and Education. Bob Ballard and Bonnie Holub as alternates selected by the Wakulla TCC campus. We have we've got the other ones that will be selected by the board. And Heather, do we need to have them approve these members that I just talked about?
When they approve the resolution, they'll approve the slate that you just read off. What it might be easier to do tonight is to have you all discuss and determine each of the additional board appointees that you have, and then once you've agreed on those, you can approve the resolution with this whole committee slate.
I'm going to make a motion that we accept on the Shell Point Byron Price and Bob Tansey, at the Citizen at Large Scott Gaby and Joshua Lawhorn, and the Natural Resources Eric Livingston.
Second.
I don't know Eric Livingston.
We need an alternate for each position.
So what's the alternate for Natural Resources under your proposal?
Pardon?
What's your alternate for Natural Resources?
I suppose we'll have to find one. There's not one there.
I think, I agree. I've actually talked to all of these people about their willingness and who, if they aren't appointed, who they would feel most comfortable having served, and who's most eager to serve, who would have the most difficulty. I agree with having Eric Livingston be the appointee. I would like to see Chuck Hess-Made as the alternate to Eric Livingston.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. I'm good with Chuck or Cypress.
Me too.
Chuck?
I like Chuck.
Okay.
Everybody likes Chuck.
Okay.
If we put Chuck on as an alternate, does that mean that he can't speak?
I wanted to, I'm sorry, do you need a second for that? You've got a second?
I think we have a motion and a second. Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to ask a question about the fishing industry folks. Are either of them here?
No.
Okay, well, I noticed on their application when it asked if they were willing to file financial disclosure, both of them checked yes, but then they wrote limited. And I think they need to understand that you can't just provide limited financial information if you're...
It's a limited form.
It is a limited. The Form 1 that they would be required to file is the limited financial disclosure. It's not the Form 6 that you all have to file.
Not that we do?
No.
Have they seen the form? I don't
know if they've seen the form personally.
Okay,
Some of them have.
Okay.
we have one citizen who's filed a card. I just want, and this just is me, for Shell Point, Oyster Bay, Spring Creek, would you be comfortable with Bob Danzy and Byron being the alternate?
Yes.
If they so choose.
That would be my preference. I just know Bob's been very involved in the community, and I'd like to see him as I think he does a great job. That being said, we have one citizen who filed a card. It's Bob Danzy. Bob chooses not to talk.
Good decision, Bob.
Are you okay with, would you be okay with Bob and then Byron? That's as amended?
Hold on. Okay, so I need to make sure that I have these all straight. It'd be, you're flip-flopping on the...
Shell Point, Oyster
Shell
Bay,
Point,
Spring.
okay. Got it.
Okay.
The Wakulla County Commission,
Yeah.
we got to pick one of us, right?
Right.
We got to appoint a commissioner.
And do we have to do that tonight?
Yes.
I think we ought to wait till after the election, because it may be a different board.
I'm okay with Randy.
Huh?
Randy, you want to do it?
Jerry lives closer to the coast than I do.
Commissioner Moore?
Engineer might be good.
Commissioner Moore?
I'll do it.
Mr. Mayor, okay. Well, we got Commissioner Merritt then.
I think it might be good for Randy to take it because he's going to be the next chairman.
We don't know
Generally
that.
speaking, you're vice chairman now, correct?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean...
Yeah, we have
But
to have
anyway,
a chair
that's a
election
little off
still.
course.
Yeah.
All right.
Since you're a know-it-all, we may appoint you chairman next time.
We will see.
We call it a know-a-lot.
No, we will see. Okay.
Not all.
Bob passed. I gotta make a note that Bob passed.
Let's hold on just a second. Jessica brought this up. Applications were accepted and given to us by Byron Price, but we don't have anything from Bob as far as an application to be the primary member. And technically, we said if you want to be a member, you got to turn your application in. And everyone has done that, and they just assigned an alternate. Now, I don't know what that does to your thinking, but and nothing against Bob. That's just the procedure that we went through.
Very good point. I guess Byron could just not go, and then Bob's primary.
I'm okay with, what do we need to do?
Put it back like
Well, I'm not, didn't the alternates need to fill out the same form?
the alternates they will have to fill out the same form, but they didn't have to submit an application because they were appointed by the we're picking the member and they pick the alternate.
Okay.
If Byron picked Bob,
Right.
then basically we should probably stay with that.
That's right.
Okay.
Especially,
Then we'll,
I'll put you on.
I hate to throw a technicality in there, but we got to be fair.
okay, then we're good. Then we'll go back.
A lawsuit about it, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I have a question also just about, I know the attorney looked into this when it came to the TDC appointment, but are there any issues related to Laura serving on this committee?
I don't believe so. This committee is going to be responding to the board, not to the county administrator.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the other good reason for Randy serving is that I've heard that he has worked in Cleve's position before.
He has worked. I've heard that same thing, that you've worked at Cleve's position before, so you have a better understanding of infrastructure.
Told you that.
It's a well-kept secret.
I would suggest that as we need an engineer, we'll need engineering on this board.
Have you been an administrator yet?
All right, everybody.
I've actually never worked for the county.
Well, you're right. We do right now work for the county, just to be clear.
Well,
all right, everybody. I think that all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
It passes 4-1. Would y'all mind a 5-minute break?
Please.
Let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back to Commissioner agenda items following that. Good meeting, everyone. We're moving on to Commissioner agenda items at this time. We have several Commissioner agenda items brought up this evening by Commissioner Arts. We're going to start this evening with tab 25A, preserving roadside wildflowers. Commissioner Arts?
Thank you. I thought rather to go through the item, the easiest way might actually to do it by PowerPoint. So I want to take you through the history of what's occurred so far and what all has been, what's proposed. All right, this all started in 2009 when I innocently sent out an email letting lots of people in Wakulla County know that it was National Wildflower Week and also promoting the Florida wildflower license plate. And after sending that email, I got an avalanche of angry emails back. And people saying, Wakulla County celebrates National Wildflower Week by mowing down all its wildflowers. And
you became a flower child at that time.
So I got, this took me totally by surprise. And okay, where are these wildflowers and who's mowing them down? And I quickly learned a lot about who does our mowing on state roads versus county roads. And it turned out these emails weren't only going to me, they were also going to the Florida Department of Transportation and reached the director there. And so there was a lot of uproar, and I met with people. I met with local people who were concerned about the mowing. I met with our public works folks, and I met with people with FDOT and brought in some wildflower experts and tried to figure out what we could do to preserve wildflowers along the state roads, which was where a lot of the mowing had apparently occurred. And we proposed then a pilot project on Coastal Highway 98 between Crawfordville Highway 319 and Woodville Highway 363. And that the board gave that its blessing in July of 2009. And it was a very simple project. All FDOT was going to do was to change its mowing practices to give wildflowers more time to grow, flower, set seed, and produce future generations. So instead of mowing the full right-of-way every 2 months, 6 times a year, they agreed on that 9-mile stretch that they would only mow the full right-of-way twice a year in the winter, between November and February. And the rest of the year, they would only mow a 6-foot safety strip adjacent to the road. And we were very excited and optimistic that we would see all kinds of wildflowers. And these next set of pictures are what the natural wildflower populations that exist on this section of 98, especially down towards St. Mark's. There are these beautiful lilies. It's kind of hard to see here, but this is coreopsis, also some spiderwort, and it goes on for a long stretch. None of this was seeded. These were all seed that was in the soil to begin with. But if you don't mow it too often, you get these flowers, and if you give them time to set seed, then the theory is that each year you'll see more and more blooms. And so here's another shot of coreopsis and a little bit of a close-up. Again, these are all along 98, some of the wildflowers that are there on their own. And then these pictures, when I knew I was going to do this item, I went down one day and just photographed what was there now. And this is a gorgeous patch of, it's a native sunflower, quite a large stretch of it, and the close-up is on the left. On the right is some goldenrod. And then this is right near Wakulla Middle School as you turn in Wildwood Drive. It just looks like almost a bridal bouquet full of all kinds of delicate flowers. On the left was a little further west on 98. So we've got lots of pretty flowers. And then it's not just flowers, there are grasses and sedges, and this is purple top grass that if you get the light, it just glistens with beautiful color. And we have long stretches of that on 98 right now as well. And then these are some close-ups of, there weren't large populations of these, but on the top right is Liatris, Blazing Star, which that's across from Wakulla Beach Road. And people put that in floral arrangements that you buy from florists. Anyway, that's just a sampling of what's there. But obviously, okay. All right. And Most recently, the FDOT Midway Operations Center won the L.P. Woods Paths of Sunshine Award because of their modified mowing practices. And at the same time, we started doing this along the State Road 98. Our Public Works folks, in a show of sympathy or support, started experimenting with a similar practice along county roads. And I was interested to find out what the reaction was. And what they do now, instead of mowing the whole right-of-way, they follow the same basic schedule that FDOT does. They make just one pass next to the road, and it allows them to make more frequent circuits. So they're actually mowing that safety strip more often than they used to, but they're still letting the wildflowers flourish in the swales. And the reports I got from ESG were that a lot fewer people were complaining. You know, they got fewer requests to mow, more compliments about the wildflowers and so forth. So they've had a pretty good experience with it. And I don't have a lot of pictures from state roads, from county roads, but David Roddenberry provided these. All of these are along county roads that our maintenance, our Public Works folks are mowing. Well, I'm going to be the first to admit that 98 has not lived up to the aspirations that at least I had for it. I really thought we'd have, you know, dense color for much of the year. And it's been a learning process. We've had to do a lot of ongoing experimentation. And one of the first things we did after consultation with the community traffic safety team, we elected to increase the safety strip to from 6 foot to 12 foot, which gives more room for disabled vehicles, emergency vehicles to pull off the road. It also, for people pulling out of driveways, gives them better sight. We've also been out there weeding, and my hat's off to all the volunteers who have helped with this. This is just one group of teenagers that I've had out there 4 different times, and we've been focusing on the section across from the high school because that place is dense with ragweed.
I'm sure Brent Pell volunteered a couple times too, didn't he?
Not with the weeding. He's been out there with the next step. But
you need to get him out there.
It's
That
hard.
was Cleve on the lawnmower earlier on the tractor, I should say.
But
In his earlier years.
there are, you can see there's some flowers in the right lower corner, and here it's hard to tell. Right in front of her on the right lower corner is the ragweed, and that's really hiding. Up above it to the upper right corner are flowers, and behind her where she's already weeded, it's hard to tell on this screen, but there are lots of little yellow and red flowers in there. So the weeding has helped, but it's an overwhelming job. And look at them, they're working. And you should have seen those piles when they got finished. They were probably 4 or 5 feet tall. And we did that twice this July, but even that still didn't get it where we would have liked it to have been. The other thing we've tried doing as part of trying to really enhance the wildflowers on this stretch is we applied for and received a grant from the Florida Wildflower Foundation, and that provided us with seeds. We also had lots of local organizations and nurseries donate money to buy seeds, and we planted seeds in 10 different sites between Crawfordville Highway and Spring Creek Highway, and Brent definitely helped with that.
Good.
And
Lynn likes to agree.
I agree. The high school ROTC was out there helping, and you can see they came up in some sections better than others, but these were 2 of the 10 sites that we seeded, and that's the Coreopsis in the spring, and this is the Guyardia in front of the high school before the ragweed got too high, and this is near Running Deer, the Jerry Moore lift station. I mean, as far as you can see is Guyardia.
I can't see anything, Ms. Arts.
You can't see all those little red flowers?
Going 60 miles an hour.
All right, well, anyway, and then here, this is near Lonesome Road. You can see the yellow ones, can't you? Okay. All right, and then here's the fall, and this is after the Native Plant Society folks had weeded out near your lift station. Do you not see all those flowers?
Oh, yeah, I see them. They're beautiful. I see them.
There's hundreds of them there. Anyway, and lots of butterflies. And this, beside the Gallardi, is a funky flower called spotted horsemint, or spotted bee balm, dotted horsemint, whatever. So, and that's all the pinkish purple stuff. Anyway, with the LP Woods Passive Sunshine Award, we also got more wildflower seeds that are going to be, that may have already been sowed, but 2 parts of 98 are going to get another $750 worth of seed this fall. So that's kind of where we are. And I know some people still are not happy with the way it looks. And I myself get frustrated that it hasn't been as maybe successful as I had originally hoped for. So the next step, and what I'd like to see happen, and it's taken a while to bring everybody along with this decision, but is to start doing a midsummer mow, so that to have the full right-of-way mowed again during June or July, after the spring wildflowers are done, but before the fall ones start to emerge. And that'll, I think, reduce a lot of the higher growth and some of the weeds. And I think, well, woody plants get removed with the winter mow.
You had some beautiful flowers, Ms. Arts, on the intersection of 319 and 98. There was a beautiful flower arrangement there about 3 years ago, of white flowers. They bloomed like son of a gun.
Yeah.
Where'd they go?
Well, I think they got mowed down this year. But that's not part of the wildflower preservation.
Should have been.
Yeah, that's thistle. That's beautiful. I know what you're talking
Somebody
about.
planted those. They had to plant them. They was a...
I don't think so.
This was just a weed.
But they're pretty flowers. Anyway, so I'm basically still focused on 98. That's been my thinking, and the next step being to arrange a midsummer mow. But then I was approached by the Big Bend Scenic Byway folks, and also by the Panhandle Wildflower Alliance people who were saying, you need to expand this. And so if you look at this map, in purple is the Big Bend Scenic Byway. So it would extend further east on 98 to Newport, and then further west on 98 to the Clockney Bay, and then go up the west part of the county, and also include 267. So this is what, and it turns out this is actually in their master plan. It's something that even if we'd never done anything on 98, at some point they were going to try and do this. Now again, I want to thank David Roddenberry. I think, is he still here? Oh yeah, there he is. Okay, because these are some photographs of wildflowers that he's taken along some of these state roads that are part of the Big Bend Scenic Byway. This is 319, that's southeast of Sopchoppy, and these are some between Sopchoppy and Smith Creek. And I know you can't see them real well, but the upper right is parrot head pitcher plants. I mean, they're just some incredible plants in the right-of-ways that if we mowed a little less often in those sections, I think we'd see those populations increase. And so right now, if you look up in Liberty County, 65 on the left is what everybody in the state considers the best wildflower viewing in the state. But I think
our county, with the public lands, has stretches of road that could easily rival that. And some of these sections of Big Bend Scenic Byway would be included. So what I'm proposing for 98 is that we direct our Public Works contractor, ESG, to work with FDOT to continue to refine the mowing schedule for that stretch of 98 to include a midsummer mow this next summer, and see what the response is to that. But on behalf of the Big Bend Scenic Byway folks and others, I would also move that we direct ESG to work with FDOT to apply a reduced mowing schedule to preserve roadside wildflowers in the non-urbanized portions. So places like Panacea, no, they would still get regular mowing of the full right-of-way. It would just be the more rural sections. And some of these roads I think have a lot more potential than some of the dry uplands areas we've been struggling with on 98. They're adjacent to, beautiful forests. They tend to be wetter and so forth. So those are my motions.
I'll second your motion.
Thank
But you did include the midsummer.
Yes.
The thing I don't like is like on just Mulat Church Road, for example, when the sweet gums start growing up in the ditches. That, to me, that really looks bad. I know we're not talking about that right now. And by the way, I don't know if y'all knew this, I used to have Cleve's job. You're in Smith Creek and you only got to make one pass with that one batwing mower. That's so much easier, because that road takes a long time to mow right away to right away. And that, I'm sure Cleve is cringing having to do less mowing over there, but
I think it's really good that we mow that one strip.
Yeah.
Just 12 feet or whatever, they do a one pass. I was asking Cleve the other day who paid for the mowers when they were damaged, and of course the county has to pick up the damage. And when those mowers get in all these ditches making those 2 and 3 passes, that just eats and tears those mowers up. But a one pass, they only get 5 times the use, 5 times the lifespan out of a piece of equipment.
And that's what we used to do. And for all the speakers that are coming up, I think there's pretty good support for this, so you don't need to try to convince us.
We do.
To speak, but
I will state this appears to be the most popular item of the evening. We have mini cards. So we will start, if y'all don't mind.
Yeah, thanks.
And if I murder your name, feel free to come up and correct, but with a Janine Broadhead?
Jeannie Broadhead.
Jeannie Broadhead. To be followed by David Roddenberry.
Okay, I'm giving you each a map. It's got beautiful flowers on the other side, and it's that.
You can spot them. Bottoms is a bird watching sanctuary and stuff. And it really has beautiful flowers as well.
I'm Jeannie Broadhead. I'm the president of the local garden club, Iris Garden Club, but we don't just do irises. We're a regular member of the Florida Federation of Garden Clubs. In 1927, the Florida Federation of Garden Clubs Highway Resolution supporting legislation calling for a 100-foot right-of-way on all state and county roads was adopted. Before that, they just bought enough land to build the road, but we wanted it to be pretty. Well, I wasn't around in 1927, but still.
Gary was.
Okay, they knew that roads do more than provide a driving surface. They need to be safe and attractive, too. Roadsides are the nation's front yard. By the late 1940s, the State Road Department recognized that 50% of traffic is social and recreational. A beautified, friendly highway system is important for our tourists and citizens. As pointed out in Doug Alderson's book, Bringing Nature Home, roadways are not only travel corridors for people. They are also important corridors for animals, including our native butterflies. They need the native grasses and wildflowers for larval and nectar foods. There are hundreds of species of native pollinators that need the plants along our roadsides. If we don't help our native pollinators, they won't be there to help pollinate our food crops either. We all realize that there is a need for a safety strip along the edge of the roads for emergency pull-offs. There's also a need for mowing up to the tree line to keep trees from growing too near to the roads and under power lines. What we are asking for is for the mowing to be held off until the dormant season, so the wildflowers and native grasses can drop their seeds for the next season of growth. Last fall, we spread a large amount of native wildflower and grass seeds along US 98. We were pleased to see that many of the areas had a wonderful wildflower season this year. Since the swale and upland areas had not been mowed, we also found wonderful clusters of wildflowers in areas where we hadn't planted any seeds. The plants were there naturally. We hadn't seen them before, since they had always been mowed down during their bloom season. 4 years ago, my garden club hosted the Florida Federation of Garden Clubs District 3 meeting. We were so proud of the wonderful wildflowers in bloom along our roadsides. People from Live Oak to Tallahassee would be coming to the meeting. 1 week before the meeting, during National Wildflower Week, the wildflowers were mowed. Let's not let that happen again.
Well timed. Thank you.
Perfect timing.
David Roddenberry to be followed by Eleanor Dietrich.
Again, I think we're all going to support this, so you don't need to convince us.
Thank you so much. I'm capable of being really brief here. My position is as president of the Sarracenia chapter of the Florida Native Plant Society, which meets monthly in Wakulla County. There are persons here from the Magnolia chapter of the Florida Native Plant Society that meets in Tallahassee also. I just want to speak my support very briefly for doing a mowing regime that is sympathetic to the glorious show of wildflowers we have in spring, summer, and fall along these roads. I know 98 gets more traffic, but I get a great deal of personal enjoyment in driving along slowly beside those wet swales of C-375 going up to from Sopchoppy to Smith Creek, which is a wonderful wildflower place in those wet swales of the road. I just wanted to say one other thing. I think it is fully consistent with the idea of drawing tourists as an enhancement of the capitalism in our county to have a good show of roadside wildflowers. I think this is perfectly consistent with that, which is perhaps the greatest potential for development, in a sense, in our county, tourist development. So I think that the motion before you tonight is consistent with that, and I congratulate you for supporting it.
Thank you. Eleanor Dietrich, to be followed by Nancy Paul.
Good evening. I'm Eleanor Dietrich from Tallahassee. I'm with the Native Plant Society there, and David and I did not rehearse this, but a perfect segue. If you look at this map here, I just want to point out that we work with the wildflower program in Leon County, and we followed the lead of Wakulla County in doing that. And actually, our county commission has passed that twice and actually expanded what we're doing. And part of that has been citizen interest. So in Leon County, we have Smith Creek Road all the way down to the Wakulla County line. We have 267 all the way down to the Wakulla County line, and we have Spring Creek Road down to the Wakulla County line. And so it's possible that we could join all of those and make one big loop on all of that. And I was at a meeting recently in Lake County. Their Economic Development and Tourism Department put out this map for the county. And in that county, they have their wildflower loops all in the county for the purpose of this quincentennial that's coming up, to try to bring people in to see the county and to visit the businesses that are all along those counties. I see this as, we're already talking about this in Leon County, and I don't see why we couldn't do it jointly. I think this would be a good thing to put together, because people are going to be coming one place, they'll be coming the other, and we would be glad to work with you on that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sounds wonderful.
Nancy Paul, to be followed by Mr. Bruce Ashley.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. I'm President-elect of Keep Wakulla County Beautiful, and Bruce and I are here to support the wildflower endeavor and anything we can do to move that along in terms of butterfly habitat and things of that sort, and to remind you that we do our part to keep the litter off of the rights of way where we can. So we're looking forward to working with you on your wildflowers.
It's with the tall grass, you can't see the litter.
Bruce Ashley, to be followed by Mr. Chuck Hess. Chuck, will be followed by Mr. Scott Davis.
Chuck, please tell me you're not going to oppose it.
No, I'm going to support it.
That's the first time.
Chuck Hess, Steve, receipt count. There's a few things to consider. I mean, the wildflowers on 65 is an artifact of mowing. Basically, back in the early 90s, there was an endangered species on the right-of-way there, and so we stopped the DOT from mowing the right-of-way, and we only had the safety strip, and that's why you have such a development of wildflowers there. The one thing that happens there is because of the heavier growth, it actually burns during the burning program of the forest, and so that allows the expansion, because the May burns will actually expand the flowers, the fall bloom. So a summer burn might be very effective, and so I would suggest you include that. Summer mow might mimic the same thing, so I would probably be a good idea. Okay, support it. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Mr. Scott Davis.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
I am Scott Davis. I am the chapter representative for the Magnolia chapter in Tallahassee of the Florida Native Plant Society. I am also an employee at the St. Mark's National Wildlife Refuge. I will abbreviate this since you have demonstrated that you're largely in favor. It should be known, let me see here. Sorry, I took notes, otherwise I'd ramble for a long time. This should be known that the Nature Conservancy has established this region as one of 6 biodiversity hotspots in the contiguous 48 states, and for that reason, if for no others, this is a very, very special place. The segment along US 98, it's imperative that we maintain the diversity of wildflowers that we do, not just for the pollinators, but also for the fact that, aside from an ecological perspective, economically speaking, US 98 is the main corridor from east to west running through our state. Working in the refuge, probably 8 out of every 10 questions are somehow correlated to butterflies or wildflowers. And I moved here for the biodiversity. I brought my tax dollars to this county for that purpose, as have many people, and I would hate to see something so special degrade. No point in me being here anymore if that's the case. We have right now, as of yesterday, 17 species of butterflies in and around this area that are dependent on these wildflowers, and the people that support the refuge and the restaurants and the stores around, they come down here for this purpose. So supporting the wildflowers, which support pollinators, is imperative. I think that wraps it up. Thank you.
I saw you at the refuge Saturday. I was on a little Honda scooter.
We talked.
Please tell me he was down one of the walking trails.
Grant, I thought you had signed up to speak. All right, well, I just want to acknowledge that Grant's the one who provided these wildflower bouquets for us, and he picked, these are all from, these are not wildflowers off 98. And I also want to give Grant credit for stopping the mowers in with the help of other people, but Leslie Cox and Grant, I think, were the key people in stopping the mowers that were mowing down fall wildflowers in peak bloom in eastern Franklin and western Wakulla County. So thank you for being here, for your work.
I think we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. Thank you, Commissioner Arts.
You're going to go out on a winning openers, Arts.
Nice.
Got two more shots. Three more items. Item B, request board approval to apply for the NEA Our Town grant.
Right. We applied for this grant in 2011 in partnership with the Historical Society and the Chamber of Commerce. And we were seeking $50,000 to design a town square in what would be the historic cultural town center of Crawfordville, right here where we are with the two courthouses and the old jail. And anyway, we weren't funded. I would like to reapply. Last time, the writing was done by non-county staff, and that's how I'm proposing to do it again. I would just like to have county staff assist with filing the application electronically. So my motion is to approve reapplying for the NEA Our Town grant. Direct staff to file the electronic application no later than January 4th, and also direct the county administrator to approve a voluntary match contribution up to $5,000 as county finances permit. There is no requirement for a match contribution, but John Sewell, who has seen this grant program fund similar projects in other communities, felt that would give us an edge to have $5,000 to $10,000 in match. And the Historical Society previously committed to provide some match funds. And I'm leaving it at the discretion of the county administrator, depending on how the budget looks, whether the county contributes $0 up to $5,000 in match, or pledges.
Your staff have time to, you got time to do this application? Is it?
I talked to Louis about it, and with some help, yes, he feels like we can tackle this.
The voluntary, what?
We have a motion.
It seems like he's going to
I'll second for discussion.
Yeah, I think that's obviously what I'm for.
Yeah, and the voluntary match, of course, I'd want before we're not approving that tonight, right?
Well, the motion I made was to give our county administrator the discretion to provide up to $5,000 if he felt that the county finances permitted.
I think if he could do it quickly enough, I don't know, I would support, in theory, yes, we would be willing to do in-kind match. Of course, I think I'd be crazy if they offered a $100,000 grant and we had to pay $5,000 and we didn't do it. But, I think we should at least look at it. I agree with you in concept, Ms. Arts, but I think we need to take another look at it before we just say, go ahead and do it, especially with the tight time.
I can provide updates as we move along, and then we'll know where we stand.
And then you say, hey, guys, here's the grant, here's what we want to do. It's going to cost you $3,000 in kind. Do you want to do it, yes or no?
I think it can come back on the consent agenda.
I got a question on you're applying a grant to design a town square. Okay.
It would be a design and construction plans.
All right, are we going to get into additional money on design and so forth from the county standpoint? So
no, the grant, the budget should pay for that in full.
So you're going to have to buy land for this town square?
What I'd actually like is that to have the landscape architects and architects and landscape architects be working on two plans. One would be for the small, just currently existing property, and another would be, for an expanded town square that if we are able to purchase land in the future, that would be my goal.
Along Jerry's, whose plan is this? Is this the one we submitted for last year? Or is this something that's in our existing
It's in the Crawfordville town plan.
Okay, it's already in the town plan that we've already approved. Okay, that was my question.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously.
That's 2 out of 4, Ms. Arts.
All right. Item letter C this evening, continuing hazardous waste days, amnesty days. Commissioner Arts, you brought this item forward.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted people to be aware that we no longer have a mechanism or plans to have hazardous waste days offered twice a year. This fall, or in the future. It's not, as I understand it, there's not, arrangements haven't been made. And I've had conversations with our Public Works folks and also Keeple County Beautiful. And basically what I'm asking is that we just develop a plan, figure out what we're going to do moving forward. So my motion is to, and there are different options. We could continue to partner with Jefferson County if we can find an affordable way to do it. We might be able to work out something with Leon County. And there are people who think we could be self-sufficient here and possibly even obtain some grant funding to do it just here on our own. I haven't researched it. I'm just asking that people do. So the first is to direct county staff and contractors to collaborate with Keeple County Beautiful to evaluate options and costs, develop a plan of action, and arrange financing to continue to conduct hazardous waste days at least twice a year in Wakulla County. And if conducting our own hazardous waste days is the preferred option, to direct staff to apply for or help Keeple County Beautiful apply for DEP grant funds to finance hazardous waste days, and also to direct the county administrator at his discretion, if county finances permit, to provide interim funding for 1 or 2 hazardous waste days until plans can be set and grant funding or funding secured.
I'd like to second on option 1. Number 2, I've been down that road. When you apply for that grant, you have to commit to do a certain number of amnesty days.
Okay.
2 a year for X number of years. And that's why we didn't do it back when I had Cleve's job. And number 3, I just think we need to, that's a little too vague, I think. Provide interim funding if we have the money. I like the number 1, though. I agree. A lot of people participate in them, so I agree with.
Okay, then I'll change it to just option 1.
A motion and a second. We have 3 citizens who filed cards. Mr. Chuck Hess, to be followed by Mr. Bruce Ashley, to be followed by Miss Nancy Paul.
Chuck Hess speaking for CCAL. I think it's very important we have some type of amnesty program. If we don't have that, a lot of people in the county will take advantage of our woods to get rid of the things they can't throw away in the dump. And so having something available and a system available so they can get rid of these items is very important.
Thanks. Mr. Bruce Ashley.
Thank you, Commissioners. Bruce Ashley, current president of Keeple County Beautiful. I think over the last several years that we've coordinated, and we have, Commissioner, coordinated 2 of these events per year. We've found it to be a very valuable program. I think it is valued by a number of people. We've averaged over 180 vehicles twice a year at each of these, held once in the spring, once in the fall, and we usually have those around April and the end of September, 1st of October. So we are beyond, and we found that the cost associated with that is the problem. I would not want to limit us to seeking just a DEP grant. I'm kind of like you. I don't like being limited by one place being a source for a grant, but as we've discussed this, we think it's a valuable program. Franklin County had theirs this past week, Friday. I believe they had their Amnesty Day, and it was getting a lot of coverage on the coast down here on the local radio media. But we would like to see it continue. We think folks have found value in it, and it has kept a lot of volatile stuff from being collected around people's homes and or dumped in improper places or improperly disposed of.
I have a bucket of batteries every time you hold that. I always have a 5-gallon bucket of batteries. I don't know how I accumulate that many, but
Let me clarify on the grant real quick. The grant I was talking about was a construction grant years ago. It was like $100,000 where you could build your own building and facility.
Oh, no.
But there were so many, that's what I didn't want to go down the road of. Now, the grants that Jefferson County was getting to, and actually back when we were doing them when they first started, Jefferson County actually made a little money on them. With these, they get a grant from DEP because they had their own hazardous waste facility. It didn't cost the county anything, but I understand circumstances have changed. I just want to clarify that about the grant thing.
Yeah, I had been led to believe, although David had said it's not true, that our county could apply to do it without having a facility to store hazardous waste as long as we were able to transport it out.
In fact, that's one of the, I'm sorry. But we're exploring all those avenues. In fact, there's grants with DEP, and we've looked at those, but you have to build, the first grant is a $100,000 grant to build the facility, to house them in so that you can store them temporarily to ship them out of here. So, but we're also working with Jefferson County and trying to come to some type of resolution so that we can have a predictable cost, especially for the next year or two until we can figure this grant cycle out. Because right now our costs were not predictable, so therefore we had to punt. So,
and that grant's not as good as it sounds.
Right.
There's a lot of luggage along with it.
That's right. So anyway, but that's something we're definitely looking at. I'm sorry.
No problem. Just as long as we keep looking. I'm representing Keep Wakulla County Beautiful as well, and we're committed to anything it takes to get hazardous waste collection amnesty days done, especially for residents here in the county. So we look forward to working with y'all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion from the board? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. It's 3 for 4.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously.
And the last item is my final update to the board on my commission appointments. And I attended a Juvenile Justice Council and Wakulla County Coalition for Youth meeting on September, I don't have the date, of 2012, and then also Wednesday of October 3rd, 2012. And those meetings are attached. Most of the meeting on the 3rd focused on the upcoming fundraisers.
Second the motion then?
So we have a second of the motion.
I move that we ratify the updates.
Okay. Any further conversation? All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Passed unanimously.
Thank you.
We have one more. Thank you, Commissioner Arndt. Those were all excellent items this evening. Commissioner Stewart, you have an item this evening?
I do, and it's one of Randy's favorites. It's to deal with speed limit. I'm here as a representative of the community traffic safety team bringing this forward. That we had some citizens, a citizen in particular is here, Mr. Spraker. If you filled out a card, sir, and he'll probably want to speak on it. But the speed limit on Lonnie Raker Road, the section south of 267 between there and East Ivan Road, if you've ever been down it, you know how it's wide in sections and very narrow in others, where you can, very carefully have to navigate to get through it safely. So the speed limit varies from 35 to 45. We've gone in recently through the recommendation of the CTST and put in the board's approval. We put school bus signs, stops ahead, and now we're just the CTST, with the advice of the Sheriff's Department, suggesting that we regulate the speed to one speed. Right now it varies from 35 to 45. It starts out one speed, goes up, goes back down, goes back up again. And they say that's very hard to enforce, that they would like to have it at one speed. They're suggesting 35 miles an hour. And I agree, because the sections that are most dangerous need to be at the maximum 35 miles an hour. They did a speed study. I'll pass this down. The highest speed noted during that study that they did was 98 miles an hour.
What was that at, Mike? Where was that counter?
It was on the scooter.
It was, I don't remember where they put the counter, but they did stop one vehicle, a motorcycle going 100 and something miles an hour. but the average speed was 54 miles an hour. I mean, that's just foolish on folks' part that's driving that fast down that narrow road. So I'm making a motion that we adjust the speed to 35 miles an hour for the distance of that piece of road.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have a citizen who's filled out a card, Mr. Robert Sprackett. I may be saying your last name wrong. I apologize if I am.
Do we see the speed limit? Thanks.
Yeah, I've lived there about 10 years now. I've got a daughter 8 and a son 2. And just recently, as of Monday, picking her up, coming off that 45 to 35, watched a big dually F-350 not slow down, and there was 3 buses stopped, didn't put the thing out yet, accelerate to about 50 in that 35, blew by the buses. So if it's 35 all the way, at least it'll slow it down all the way. And last year was a bigger problem. There was some construction out on the highway, so we had a lot more reroute. That they were constantly coming off that 45, not even paying attention. There's middle school kids that catch the bus before the sun comes up. My daughter goes to the new elementary school. I can think of, except for 3 or 4 that quit taking their kids on my street, Will Road, up there because of this, there'd be about 12 kids that catch buses on Boynton Estates, which would be Cone, Will Road, and Boynton Court. And then it's gotten a lot better. The county's done a lot better controlling it. The sheriff has, watching it. But to slow it down one constant speed would be a big help. I know my neighbor would go as far as wanting, and he offered to pay for the speed calming devices, but I know that issue is a lot bigger. But if we can get it slowed down to one constant speed, 35 would be a big help. And I appreciate the board supporting Stuart in that issue.
All right. I think y'all know what I'm going to say, that I'm adamantly, vehemently against this, because, you know, the speed study set the road at 45. We all know that Lonnie Raker was paid to try to release some traffic off 319. We had a little spot of right-of-way there. We couldn't get the full right-of-way, which I think we do have now. I may be mistaken. There may be one little piece left. And we went ahead and paved it tight at Brother Raker's field. You're right. So we posted the speed limit 35 there because it has kind of a tight turn. Now, even the data says the average speed is 54. That is clearly an enforcement issue. Changing the speed limit from 45 to 35 is not, I mean, somebody needs to get a ticket. If they're driving 54, the average speed at a 45, that is clearly an enforcement issue. Even the 85th percentile, which everybody familiar with statistics will know what that is. What is 85th percentile, Ms. Larson?
57.
57 miles an hour. So I hate posting speed limits. You know, I've heard people say that, well, we won't give a ticket unless they're going 11 miles over the speed limit. Then we should have the sign saying speed limit 45, we really mean 56. No, I think we need to enforce the speed limit. I think this gentleman would be happy if they'd enforce the speed limit. It's 35 where he lives, if I'm not mistaken, Philip Cooksey's house, I think it's 35 right up to Brother Raker's field. Then it goes to 45 where it's wide open. We need to go ahead and finish and straighten the road out. I agree with that and get rid of that dangerous curve, but I'm probably not going to win on this one because I never do on speed limits, but I'm just trying to put a little logic. And I understand where you're coming from.
I'm just
I understand.
representing the community traffic safety team, which in this case, I agree with them that it ought to be established at one. Now, if we want to make it 45, I'm fine with that, but let's make it one consistent speed so that they can
if it wasn't for that
enforce the speed.
If it wasn't for that jog in the road, I would completely say let's make it 45. Okay. I think that jog is a little, well, it's very difficult to navigate at 45 miles an hour. And you know, I would support us aligning the road up straight the way it should be and then setting the speed limit at 45 because realistically people use that road. It's not just for people that live on the road, it's for people to go back and forth. And if we, you know, we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars paving it.
I'm making the presentation.
Okay.
We'll do what we do with it.
It seems like your traffic count's only 34 at 7 o'clock. You got 34 cars. Not a lot of cars.
No.
Evidently half of them go fast, though.
But it only takes one to run over a young'un.
Well, I understand that.
I agree, and I don't want kids to run over. I think we need to enforce the speed limits.
I just wanted to clarify, we had said that we would let community traffic safety team make recommendations. Was their recommendation for a consistent speed limit, but not a, or it was for 35? Okay.
And Mr. Spraker was there, and he can attest to that, so he made his presentation to the committee as well.
I don't agree with that. I think we need to put some logic. Even the DOT guide standards for setting speed limits clearly state, I mean, they even say, I think it says, I won't say it's illegal, but you're not allowed to post a speed limit below the 80th percentile. You're forcing people to break the law. Not forcing them, but you know what I mean. You're consciously setting a law that you know 80% of the people are going to break. And it's all sounds like a great idea until you have a state trooper sitting there and 50 people going through there to get a ticket.
You can't drive that road at 45 all the way?
Well, there's one curve right there where we had to jog the road because of right-of-way issue. Other side of it, yes, absolutely. And the other side, going north, absolutely. And it slows to 35 when you get to the neighborhood. Where I don't know if you know where Cone Road, Wheel Road, all those roads are. It drops from 45 to 35 right where the neighborhood starts, and it stays at all the way to Bloxham Cutoff. Right by the school, that's 35 miles an hour.
Sure.
That's livable. Sure. You know, that's livable.
So how long is the 45? That can't be that long of a stretch of road that's not 35.
You know where Brother Records Field is? Mm-hmm. All right.
But that's just a field.
Right.
So it's just you get to speed up while you go past the farm.
Well, and then it jogs where actually Brother Record didn't get the right of way, so we had to jog the road around. And then after that, it resumes 45 all past, what's that subdivision?
Oh, yeah, that subdivision.
Right there, and then it goes past the other subdivision until it hits East Ivy.
Okay. Well, again, my answer is always going to be continuing to be consistent. Whenever the community traffic safety team, which is for some reason the hardest committee for me to say, what their recommendation is what I'll continue to support to try and be less arbitrary. And we might be able to appoint you.
I think the CTSD is being very arbitrary.
We may have the opportunity to appoint you to that committee in the future.
Yes, I'd love
Brent sits on that. He said it in that same meeting I was in, and he knows how we wrestled with this. It wasn't, I mean, everybody in there is not about lowering speed limits. It's we talked about it from a safety perspective, honestly, and that's how we come to 35 miles an hour.
Would you agree if we fixed that jog, though,
Yes.
to set it back to 45?
Yes, I would absolutely agree.
You agree with that?
Yes. And I think the community traffic safety.
Never mind.
And my answer is going to be if the community traffic safety team is what my stance is. That is, you get them on board, and everything's good.
You got a school zone up there, and that
be consistent.
I'm not talking about changing that. I'm just talking about from his neighborhood south. Make it back to 45 consistently. Of course, leave the speed limit at Will and Cone.
But that's not going to happen in our lifetime. So
we have a motion and a second to set the speed limit on the road to 35.
I'm still going to vote against it.
I understand. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
It passes 3-2.
Thanks, Jerry.
I know, I was surprised
Somebody
at
finally
that.
agreed with
Again, well, we don't go to it.
That's okay.
The county,
The speed limit 54 down to 35.
well, the speed limit's not 55 right
Not
now.
going to.
Yes.
Thank y'all. I appreciate it.
All right, that concludes Commissioner agenda items this evening. We have the county attorney has one item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In accordance with Section 286.011 of Florida statutes, I'm requesting that you all set a attorney-client executive session. The time I'm going to propose is 4 p.m. before your next meeting, which is November 19th here. I want to discuss possible settlement negotiations with you in the case of Carter and Fort versus Wakulla County, which is pending at Circuit Court Case Number 10-147CA.
So moved.
Second.
Here we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Does that work for everybody? All right, then we will. All in favor?
Aye.
Pass unanimously. Okay, thank you. County Administrator, you have an operational update?
Yes, as part of our
getting more efficient at what we're doing and bring the board up to date as to where we stand. On the grant side, we are working on two FEMA mitigation grants. One is that manholes in the waterproof manholes in the Panacea area in Ocklackney Bay, and the other is the Med Art Park to do some stormwater work there. We're working on those two grants. Possibly, we're going through the process of determining whether we even want to do that. We've already rejected one, which was going to be harder, and also we would not be funded at the end of the day. That was a grant for Bostic Pelt Bridge. So we're also applying for one RTP grant that we're working on, as well as we're setting the table for getting into the cycle to where every year and every cycle we're going to hit the boating grants. We're setting the table for that, as well as the CDBG grants for infrastructure, and also the RTP grants. And there's a couple other grants that we're setting up. We're getting our system set up so that we can every year apply for these grants in a cycle, so they're not herky-jerky. We're planning it, and we're going to hit those targets. So we're setting all that up now. Also, the OBBT Trail Phase 4 is under construction, as you know, working along well. We should have completion of that by the end of this year. So that's on target. And we met today with up at the state at the central office of DOT. We're asked to span Buckhorn Bridge with the trail. Right now we can't do that based on the funding that we've got, so we're going to have to take it out into the road and bring it back across the bridge. But we're going to identify that as a separate project and try to get grant funds and DOT funds for that. So that brings you up to date there. Also, the sewer plant. I've asked ESG, and Brent will have probably by Wednesday or Thursday a detailed list of everything that's wrong at the plant, and that we're going to present that then next week to our 4 consultants that we have on staff now that we've got our CCNA engineers down, and we're going to ask each one of them to bring us a proposal based upon our needs and what we've got and the flow that we're going to need to hit and the type of treatment that we have, the best possible scenarios for us and their ideas on how to expand the plant.
On that note, David, is the plant still spiking up on flows daily or whatever?
Has that subsided? Has the pike?
The flow spikes?
They're still getting that. We've got to solve that, and we can talk about that. But
nobody's figured out what's causing that yet? I got a good idea to how to figure it out.
What our plan is Randy, myself, Cleve, and Brent will actually be the evaluators of the engineers, and then from there what our plan is select an engineer. But also what comes with that is engineers. They not only have to come with process, but they've got to come with funding. Where can you get your funding? Where can we get funding at? Is there grants? Are there, the low interest loans, all that, etc. So we've got to work through the math, and Greg James will also probably be a part of that. I haven't asked him for this, but he'll be a part of it as well since he's our money man. Thank you, Greg.
Welcome aboard, Greg.
Yeah. So we're setting that up so that hopefully, that'll probably take 2 or 3 months, but hopefully in the springtime we'll have a plan and be able to move forward, because we can't tarry. We need to move forward quickly with that. FEMA, you like that word? Yeah. FEMA, they have closed their field office here at the Best Western. All the PWs have been written. We're waiting for those PWs to come to us for review. Heather had a meeting with FEMA's attorney. It went very well about the legality, or the whatever you call it, of ESG's contract, being able to get refunded based on their labor that they spent on the storm. So we feel like we might have a good resolution there. We're just waiting on word back from that. Also, Shell Point Beach, we'll be doing some hauling in some sand to mitigate for some of the storm damage that's happened and help protect the tree there. We don't feel like hardening. We can't do any type of hardening, so we're going to put some sand back there. And that'll Cleve just promised me he'll start that Monday of next week. So we'll have that going, and Also, just to let you know, the transition between the old OMB and the clerk's office is going tremendous. We're just about done with all of the transition process now. It's fantastic. We're working well. Brandy is doing a fantastic job. Greg's doing a fantastic job. Jim has really been helpful in the transition and getting everything transitioned over. So all that's gone very, very smoothly. So we're marching along really good there. So anyway, that's all my update. Unless you guys have any questions.
How about the feds in the Restore Act? Are they going to get in the way of our money?
Your guess is as good as mine and as good as anybody else's.
We hope not.
We hope not, but there's a lot of water's got to go in there.
Parrish actually did an ARPC. Parrish was there making a presentation about that. And we don't know if we're going to get the money or not, because the Senate or whatever, the House could change the way it's distributed, and this Restore Act thing we've been talking about totally be out the window.
That's the reason we're proceeding just as if we're not going to get the money. So we hope, and hopefully we'll get it, but like I say, we can't hold. We wait on that. We may not ever get anything done.
Have you or Cleve and Brent figured out what to do about the mobile homes that are moved and they just cut off the pipes, and that led to all that flooding back with?
Oh, you're talking about over at Panacea at the? No, that's something that's we've got to do that. We haven't. I don't think you've identified that problem over there. We've got the problem there, as well as in the first phase of what's the other subdivision on Cotton Bay, Silver Glen. The first phase of Silver Glen, there's a problem over there as well.
With the low pressure sewer?
Infiltration. There's actually a gravity system in the first phase of Silver Glen. I went and saw the manholes the other day.
I know it pumped into a manhole right at the beginning of the subdivision.
So anyway, we've got some challenges there, but as part of this, what we're hoping for is part of this grant with FEMA is actually mitigation. We can actually, as part of that step, is go and TV every single line that we have, so that we can identify all of that stuff. Right now, we can't afford to TV all of our lines for our I&I, so that's a part of what we're hoping to get to with this FEMA mitigation grant.
Has there been a smoke test done?
What's that?
Has anybody done a smoke test?
I think Cleve has done one a couple of years back, right?
You don't need to go. Please.
He wanted to come up to the podium. Y'all hadn't asked him all night.
We are going to be smoke testing the Panacea Park area. The problem we've had is that the water table had come up so high, we kept watering the lines and we couldn't smoke test it.
And that will identify all these cut-off pipes that mobile homes, because they'll identify if somebody has their gutters tied to it, it'll blow smoke out through their roof, everything.
We've done it twice down on
if they have a gutter
Surf Road.
What is that?
You have your roof gutters, you can tie them to the clean out on your, don't tell anybody this, but you're not supposed to, but then it, the water doesn't go in your yard, it goes in the sewer system, unfortunately.
We found that on several places down on Massey Allen's Road. When we did smoke testing there, it come out the top of the gutters.
Yep.
So
that must be a surprise.
You get the fire department down there too.
Yeah.
But we are smoke testing what we can, but the water table's still pretty high right now, and we're looking at maybe that is part of our spiking that we have during this time of year, but the water table is going down, but the flows have not gotten down to a level that we can start a TV program yet.
We want to also, like I said, we want to make sure we smoke them, but also TV test them, because good possibility we got some mains leaking as well. So we won't know that unless we TV those. So
we had hoped to get more money from the FEMA process, but that's been I think when y'all see the PWs, you're going to understand it's been a huge disappointment as far as I guess I got to say this, compared to what the northern states are getting right now and how Wakulla County's been treated, it's not equitable for the citizens of this county.
They were handing out like candy about 10 years ago.
Like I say, we're fooling ourselves if we're going to rely on FEMA. So those days are over. We got to have a reserve big enough to handle a storm.
Okay. Does that conclude your report?
That's it.
All right, excellent. Discussion items by commissioners. Commissioner Arts.
Yeah.
Commissioner Moore.
Talking about wildflowers, north of Atlanta, there's an area called Zell Miller Parkway, and they put wildflowers in the center lane for miles, and it's just a total bloom if you're up that way in the fall.
Excellent. I had two items I wanted to bring up briefly.
Good answer, Alan. Good answer.
I want to appoint Commissioner Moore to the Oil Spill Response Committee. I was just going to do it, but I was told I need to bring it up before the board. Is there any objection? It's the people who are planning a response in case there's another oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, and since he represents
Sounds like a great job for Jerry.
No objection?
So if we have another oil spill, I'm actively involved.
Right now, you can be on a committee planning to make sure that if it happens, that everything's taken care of.
They don't have many meetings left, so.
It's almost over.
Almost
But
over.
there was a conflict with me serving on that committee and the other committee, Restore stuff.
Pay anything?
It doesn't pay anything. So, no, well, not any more than you already paid as a county commissioner.
You get a free pair of mother boots.
Okay, thank you. No objection. We're going to appoint Commissioner Moore. And then secondly, it was brought up earlier, and we can bring it back at the next meeting. Big Brothers Big Sisters wants to put one of their collection bins at Azalea Park. Is there any where right now, probably around where the United Way sign is? The United Way sign is coming down, and they're not going to be putting it back there.
How big is it? What color?
It's purple. It looks like this.
How big is it?
I'm not crazy about a park.
Okay.
And I'm
We'll
just
bring it up, and
wondering,
we'll figure out where we might be able to find the
I mean, Walmart parking lot, library.
Board office park.
I mean,
Hey.
Library?
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll find a
someplace other
location.
than
I just wanted
a
to bring it up.
extension office, fire
You want to put it
station.
someplace where it's visible so people can see it? So.
We might not want a purple Barney.
Probably not in a park, though.
Okay.
A
Well, then
public
we'll bring it
place,
back
but
we'll
not
bring
a
it back
park.
another meeting and try and figure out what location works best. Okay, those are the two items I want to bring up, and I'll echo Commissioner Arts' earlier comments to remind everybody to vote tomorrow. If you haven't voted yet, as long as you're in line by 7, they will let you vote. Commissioner Merritt?
Just one quick housekeeping item. I mentioned this to David. We have the Lower Bridge Road landfill, and we no longer have a Lower Bridge Road. And Martin Luther King, well, it used to be the Lower Bridge Road, but it doesn't even have a bridge on it. I don't know if we want to think about renaming that, since there is no longer a Lower Bridge Road. Maybe name it after Jerry, or I don't know, whatever. Just a thought, because in all the DEP documents and everything in the agenda, it's all Lower Bridge.
Yeah, let us get through closing it this year, which they're working on the plans right now.
Non-pressing item.
Let's get it through, and then once we close it, then we can do that. Right now, we have to change way too many documents.
Just so Mike could hear me speak a little bit more.
Mr. Stewart?
Nothing.
No additional items? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Mr. Stewart seconded that motion. Thank you. Meeting closed.
All right.
I have a mile there.
Sure.
I promise you I won't
It's only
mow it.
8:30.
I'll tell you what they've been.